I'm joined by Kyle Balgames. Welcome, Kyle.
How are you?
Raja Suleiman with Orzov.
Max McVitie.
Congratulations, Brian DeMars.
Zach Allen. I wouldn't be here without these guys, though. So.
And the champion of Proto Counter-Attack here, Ari Lax.
Welcome, everybody, to Making Magic Happen, brought to you by RW Hobbies and Games in Livonia, Michigan. So, little story for everybody. Yesterday I was at the RW store. We had a fine gentleman named Chris come in, and he wanted to build a blue-white deck. He had gotten, I believe it was a Double Masters box, and opened a Jace the Mind Sculptor, and is really excited about it. And he wanted to put together blue-white in Modern, because he wanted to build a Modern deck. He didn't have one yet. So, he bought this box, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, something like that. A week ago, I'm not sure. Started building a deck, came in yesterday, and said, hey, I don't have all the cards for this deck, but I want to be able to play it, and, I don't know how much that's going to cost me. And, I didn't have a great answer for him. I wasn't sure how much it would actually cost you, to not be playing all the premium cards. So he had some of the stuff. He was able to pick up some of the stuff. He had some of it from Standard, all of that, right? But he didn't have Misty Rainforest or Scalding Tarn, which are very expensive cards, so it's not a shocker that somebody would not have those. And he was having a hard time finding Force Negations. He had opened one. We were able to work out a trade where he could get another from the store, but then we ran out and there was just no more. So he was working he wanted to see if he could make a blue-white deck playable in Modern if it was good. And he sent me this list. He commented on the video, the last video we made, and said, hey, can you help me build this? He says, I was wondering if you could test it out. I only have 2 Force Negations. I don't have MTGO. I'm not an experienced pilot. So he wants to know, how good it would be, right? So I'm always happy to, take something someone's working on, play it through a league and give some feedback. That's something I enjoy doing. So happy to help people with that. And I want to see if I can make Chris's deck playable and see how good it actually is. And obviously, maybe it's better right now to play the green, but the whole Uro, Misty, all of that package, gonna be out of the price range for this video. So we're gonna try and work with what I've been given, which looks like a Blue-White Miracles deck. He's got Thought Scour instead of Opt, which may not make sense on its face, but I think is actually really sick in a Frantic Inventory Mystic Sanctuary deck, so I want to try that out. So I've gone ahead and built the deck. He said that he didn't have a sideboard. He needed help putting a sideboard together. And given that we've already kind of budgeted out on what he had available to him, I wanted to stick to only cheap cards in the sideboard. So we've got the Miracles deck built mostly off of cheaper Modern cards and a standard blue-white control deck. I think the only big pickups were the 2 Force Negations, the Cryptics, and the Jaces. Everything else is under $1, as far as I can tell. Maybe Archmage's Charm is like $5. But outside of the blue-white cards he had from Standard, everything else was pretty cheap. He already had Polluted Deltas, I was told, and the Strands, because of those were in Standard a while ago. But yeah, no Misties or Tarns. The Mystic Sanctuaries are cheap. The Field of Ruins are cheap. Obviously, there's a bunch of basics, so that's pretty cheap. The Hallowed Fountains are currently in Standard. Prairie Stream, not in Standard, but also pretty cheap at the moment, actually. Probably like $1. So in the sideboard, I've included mostly uncommons or cheap rares. The only expensive card is Monastery Mentor, which is expensive, but not super expensive. And I think this deck is going to need a sideboard plan for decks that are good at stopping its win condition, namely Entreat the Angels. So we have Ashiok Dreamrender, uncommon, good graveyard hate, good anti-search hate. Gonna be a great sideboard card on a budget for any blue deck. Aether Gust, also pretty cheap. Mystical Dispute, expensive for an uncommon, but you probably have it if you're playing Standard because it's just so prevalent. If you bought any Throne of the Eldraine packs, you probably have them. Veto, also not expensive. Purge, not expensive. On Thin Ice, it is a rare from Modern Horizons, but you can probably pick it up for about $1. And we got Winds of Abandon here as my spicy tech one-of. I really like this card in a Mystic Sanctuary deck. It's good early removal to stop you dying to whatever thing it is that you need to kill, and then late game you can Mystic Sanctuary back and then just exile their whole board. It kind of functions as more graveyard hate against Dredge outside of Ashiok, and yeah, a good one. Also a pretty good one to Thought Scour. You can just like let it sit in your graveyard, and then boom, when you got 6 mana, you can Mystic Sanctuary back in your upkeep, and then Overload Winds of Abandon, and they don't have a board anymore. So yeah, the Mentors will be a little more expensive, but I think for the purposes of this video, it's not crazy. In fact, let's do a quick price check on Monastery Mentor. Just see what we're working with. Let's check out some Star City Games action here. Monastery Mentor will run you about 18 at the moment. So not super cheap, but probably doable. Maybe we could do better, but I'm gonna play Mentor because I love it. So sorry. All right, let's play some games and see how this plays out. All right, we're here for round 1. We've won the die roll. This looks like a great hand. We've got early interaction. We've got lands to hit our land drops. We've got a payoff for the earlier interaction. Namely, if we can keep the board clear, this Jace is going to be excellent. So this is an easy keep in my mind. Obviously, losing Force Negation. I mean, Force Negation is just such a good card that not having it is going to cost you. It just has been started to become modern defining, and a lot of the planeswalkers in this deck really pay you off for playing the card. Especially Jason, 3 mana Teferi. They just force your opponent to kind of play into them, I guess you could say. But we'll see. It's also the type of thing where, you know, if this is where I was at, right? This is what I could afford. This is what I had. And I can get to here, and now I can play with it, right? If this is where I'm at, I think I would be playing with this deck, right? I would put this together, I'd start playing with it, and I would try to use it to grind into the Force of Negations. And whether that's online, where this was all I could afford online, and then, you know, now I have this online, I can just start playing leagues and just try to grind out some value in chests or tickets or whatever it is, and then get my Force of Negations. That'll be good. Oh, Mana Leak is really not what this hand wanted to see. That's kind of unfortunate. Alright. Well, Cavern of Souls is going to really, really not be great for us here. Not what you wanted to see. This hand, I don't believe. But Path to Exile is a really good draw. So I feel like we might be back. feel like we got a pretty good shot. The one upside to this hand right now is that, wow, they have 2 Cavern of Souls. Jace does fix a lot of this, right? Is that a Thalia? That is a Thalia. Let's get this champion off the table. We'll take care of the Thalia next turn. And keep opponent kind of off their game plan. This is really unfortunate. This Mana Leak and this Spell Snare would have been excellent. But this deck does play Phantasmal Image and has named Human twice. So it's not crazy that... I'm going to get the Prairie Stream now. Just make sure this comes into play, or make sure it doesn't hurt me drawing it later. Okay, Mystic Sanctuary is a decent draw. Question is, do I want to play it tapped now, or would I rather get the Path back? I think the answer is I definitely want to get the Path back, so I'm going to play the Flight of Stranded Pass. Yeah, so Jace is going to be really good here. It is like, at this point, it's a draw 3, basically. Yeah, the next draw step's not going to be great, but I get to draw 3 fresh cards and put these 2 counterspells that don't do anything back, and that's going to be just absolutely excellent. Alright, there's an argument for not pathing Thalia, because the opponent could have another one. So actually, I think that's probably a better play. I could easily path Thalia here, but if they have another one in their hand, they get to play it, and then I can't play Jace next turn. But because it's a legend, they can't play it here in their second main phase. And instead, oh man, Kitesail Freebooter. That's awkward. Okay. So, I'm not going to be able to play Jace no matter what next turn. I think the answer here is I'd rather have the Jace. No, I'd rather get the Thalia off the table, I think. I think with this in play, I'm going to path it. I think that's where I'm going to go. You know what? Dahlia just adds more power to the board. It's probably right to just path the Thalia. Given that I can just draw another path, I can get the Jace back, and I can set up to use the Jace the turn following this. I could have also done that with Kite Sail, sure. Reasonable. So here you're going to see me do something that might be a little non-intuitive, I guess you could say. It seems like end of turn I should just definitely fetch the third Hallowed Fountain and stop me from drawing it, right? But if I draw an island, I'd rather have this become the Mystic Sanctuary, so I want to give myself a draw step, see what I hit. And my mana is good enough. I'm just a 2-color deck. I already have double of both colors with these 2 lands, that if I draw not land, I can just afford to fetch island and then play Mystic Sanctuary. That's totally fine. Okay, we drew another Jace anyway. That was actually an unbelievable draw. Just an absolutely unbelievable draw. So I'm going to get this island now. I am going to put Path to Exile back on top of my deck. And, yep, I would like Path to Exile. I'm going to cast this Jace we drew. That was just a fantastic draw. So now there's actually a lot of interesting plays I can make. I could bounce this, get another Jace back in my hand, but then they probably replay it and take the Jace. I could plus to play around exactly the card Mantis Rider, but that doesn't beat Mantis Rider plus Thalia's Lieutenant or Mantis Rider plus Noble Hierarch. Well, it does actually beat Noble Hierarch. Plussing's interesting. Plussing is definitely interesting. But I do think I'm supposed to brainstorm here, just based on the fact that if I brainstorm here, I could set up a Terminus, but I'm definitely going to get these 2 cards that don't do anything out of my hand, so I want to do that. I do want to do that. Okay. These were not great draws. So here's what I'm going to do. I actually want to leave the Path to Exile on top of my library. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Mana Leak beneath it and the Path on top of that. So now if they have another Kite Sail Freebooter or like a Phantasmal Image to copy this Kite Sail Freebooter, then they just get my Spell Snare, which is a dead card anyway. I don't care. There's maybe an argument that this will catch something at some point, but with 2 Caverns, it's pretty unlikely. General Kudra. Okay, so they probably have the Thalia's Lieutenant too. I guess I didn't play around 2 Lords. That's kind of unfortunate. Oh no, just a Vial. Okay. So I'm actually going to untap with a Jace, and now I think this game is nigh unlosable. We'll actually see, but yeah, I mean, I have a heart. Like, I get to kill both of their creatures this turn with Path, Mystic Sanctuary Path on top, Brainstorm Jace. And that's going to be pretty good. Play another Sank. Path on top. Yes. I'm going to draw 3. And the reason I'm not protecting Jace anymore is that I have another one. If opponent has a way to get rid of it this turn, which they may or may not, I don't know. But if they do, then I'm going to just play this one. And I'm going to pass. So it is actually slightly better to wait here. All of my stuff is instant speed, so not a big deal to wait and see, hey, maybe they play a Mantis Rider. I'd rather tap their team and draw a card. Or this is their only attacker. Sure, I'll path it. Opponent knows I have Path, so maybe they play around it in that fashion. But Cryptic's like a dead card, but it's like a fog that cycles, so it's never like truly dead, if that makes sense. And here, knowing I get this Jace back, I think it's an easy spot to use a Path. Opponent's down to 3 cards in hand. Path no longer has the downside of hitting basics because they already have their 2 in play. And now they're going to have to start playing out their like Reflector Mage. They're going to have to start running out Reflector Mage, which is just not a good card against me. And they actually are flooding a little bit. Maybe another Reflector Mage? Sure. So opponent ran out 2 Reflector Mages. That's fine. It's not great. It is fine. So what I'm looking for here is a fetch lane. I want to get rid of these dead counterspells that I keep drawing. Teferi's also pretty good. I'll take a Teferi. I'm going to put these back, I guess. So if I play Big Teferi here, I can plus and then just cast a Frantic Inventory, but Big Teferi won't die with what's on board, and unless they draw exactly Manus Rider, they're going to have a hard time killing both my walkers. Dahlia's Lieutenant would let them kill Big Teferi, which would be not ideal. I think the situation here is that we're just in such a good spot that there's no reason to put Planeswalkers into harm's way. We're just looking for a Terminus at this point, and opponent's not going to be able to kill a Jace through a Cryptic Command. They would have to draw... No, there's just no way. There's no 2-drop that's going to be able to do this at instant speed. So, if this Vial was on 3, they could wait for me to tap their team, then Vial and Mantis Rider. But it's just not, so that's just not a line they have. And this way I can just cycle the Cryptic, get it out of my hand, just get deeper into my library. Yep, tap all creatures your opponents control, draw a card. Yep, so just keep cycling, get this out of my hand. Okay, opponent has conceded, and that makes sense. They're just not going to beat a Jace that keeps going. We're going to start getting this Frantic Inventory in there. Yep, it's going to be pretty good. So, post-board against humans, always pretty easy from our perspective. The Spell Snare's out, the Mana Leak's out, Force Negation's out. Those are the first cuts. They're easy. The On Thin Ice, Celestial Purge, Winds of Abandon all come in. Next, we have to decide, do we want Aether Gust? Aether Gust doesn't really hit anything in their deck with the exception of Manus Rider. It does hit Noble Hierarch. That's not great. I think I could bring in one Aether Gust. I think that's fine. I could definitely do that. I do want Monastery Mentor. I think having 2 Mentors is completely reasonable. And I think Cryptic's the next worst card. You saw there, it was fine. It did a thing, but it's not great. It's definitely not great. So I think going down to 2 copies is just totally okay. You'll notice Archmage's Charm is actually a card I'm leaving in, and I'm excited about it. Because Archmage's Charm can steal Aether Vial. It can steal a big champion of the parish. This is just a very flexible card in Modern. I think all blue-white decks should have 2 copies. Okay. This is a very interesting hand. So on the draw, I have Jace to set up this Terminus, which would be good, right? It would be pretty good. But I don't have any early plays. That said, I have a lot of early plays I can draw. And yeah, this hand's going to be really bad against a Thalia. Or a Kite Sail. And it's pretty likely, given that opponent kept 7, they have that or just a really good start. I think this is a touch too slow, and I'm going to err towards mulliganing. I think it's a touch too slow. Now, this hand's much better. I think this is an easy keep. I can put this Cryptic back because I don't need it very much. I've got some early setup cards and Thought Scour to kind of maybe hopefully get a Terminus in my graveyard for turn 4. I guess Terminus is a turn 5 thing. Maybe it's a turn 4 if I draw another draw spell. I've got a Winds of Abandon to get rid of an early play like this Champion of the Parish. Yep. Ooh, and a Teferi even to cycle a little bit. So I'm going to lead on Polluted Delta. I actually do just want to get a basic island here and start Thought Scouring. You really just want to get these out of your hand before Thalia comes down and they get taxed. Yeah, you definitely don't want to be playing Thought Scour into Thalias. Playing it, like a Kite Sail Freebooter here is fine. I don't mind. They're not going to take my Thought Scour, so I'm not going to do them the bonus of Thought Scouring before the trigger goes on the stack to give them information of what's in my hand. I think it's overwhelmingly likely they take my Winds of Abandon here. I do believe that's the case. And that's fine. That's fine. That actually makes my next turn much easier, because I was going to have a tough decision on do I shock. Now it's really just, I'm probably just Thought Scouring again. So we'll see. We're really looking to set up a Terminus here. That's kind of the goal. But we need to see what this Thought Scour does, because it's going to give us a lot of information. It's probably going to really define our next turn. So here, just going to get a Snow-Covered Island. Thought Scour ourselves. Alright, we mill in a Treat. Treat's... That's nice that we're not going to draw it, so that's fine. Alright, so now it looks like we're on a pretty clear Teferi plan. I could play a Flooded Strand and, maybe shock. Hope to draw, a path. I could do this main phase because I did board in on Thin Ice. But I think I'd rather save the life here. It's not super likely I hit one of those 6 on a random draw step. With an Opt, I'd be more into it, I guess you could say. Okay, opponent has 2 Freebooters. That's good. Again, I don't think they're going to respect Thought Scour. I think they're just going to take this Teferi because it's the thing that I have set up to play next turn. Which makes sense. It does make sense from their perspective to take that card. But we're not under an intense amount of pressure right now. We're definitely under pressure. I mean, opponent's got a nice little clock going of 4 damage a turn, 5 next turn, probably more because it's just going to keep growing. But we have tools to beat that. 1 removal spell for this champion just kind of puts opponent's clock in the toilet. Alright, we have drawn actual nothing off these Thought Scours. Huh, well, what does this mean for us? I think it means that I am supposed to Thought Scour main phase here and hope to hit something. Alright, we hit a Cryptic Command. That's not great. It is going to help keep us alive, but it's not great. Okay. So, here I think is going to be an easy get a Prairie Stream spot. Ooh, Meddling Mage. Okay. Meddling Mage is pretty annoying. I imagine they'll name Terminus, although I wouldn't be shocked if they named Path Exile. Supreme Verdict. Alright, well, there we go. We're getting some benefit from our opponent not knowing our list. We actually don't have Supreme Verdict in our deck. I would guess the Entreat would be kind of a dead giveaway that we are on Terminus and not Supreme Verdict, but maybe opponent didn't see it that way. Okay. Definitely... Alright, so we're at a pretty low life total. Definitely going to take this opportunity to just get Prairie Stream in play. There is an argument for... Ooh. That's actually really good. So I was going to Cryptic Tap here. Instead, I think this is a really good opportunity to get a Mystic Sanctuary, put the Path back on top, and then I can steal Champion of the Parish in the beginning of combat step. Right, what is opponent playing here? Looks like a Phantasmal Image. Yeah, I mean, I could counter this. In fact, I think given what's happening here, I would rather counter this. I actually get to get some value off this Cryptic, which I wasn't expecting to be able to do. So I think this is actually a pretty good spot to just put Path Exile on top of my deck. Easy. Okay. Yes. And then I'm gonna Cryptic counter tap. This is why you don't play spells pre-combat against Cryptic decks. This is a really brutal exchange for the opponent. So counter target spell, tap all creatures your opponents control. Very brutal exchange for the opponent here. So there you see, opponent traded 1 for 1 and got Time Walk. That's not really where they want to be. So they have 3 cards in hand. I could play Teferi Plus and leave up Path, but I think I'm much better served here just stealing the champion and getting a Path on the Winds of Abandon here, probably. I could also see this Teferi. I could buy that that's where I want to go. Okay, so they're playing another illusion. So, what do I think that means they're going to do? If I Path... I think they're trying to copy Meddling Mage. I think that's clear. But I really don't want them to be able to copy Kitesail Freebooter. I think that's quite bad for me. Yeah, I mean, that's going to leave me with nothing, which is pretty bad. I think if I use the Path ahead of time, they might copy this, and then that would actually be okay for me. So I'm going to Path the Kitesail. No. Yeah, this is just not going to go good for me, kind of no matter what. I am going to Path the Kitesail. It at least lets me make sure I get the Teferi in play. This is not going to be a great turn for me, kind of no matter what happens here. I'm going to see what they copy. I would imagine it's a Meddling Mage, either naming Winds of Abandon or a Kitesail, to just take the Winds of Abandon again. And either way, it's going to work out. I'm really hoping they copy Meddling Mage. I'm kind of trying to bait them into copying a Meddling Mage and naming something else. It's kind of where I want to go here. Because then this Champion of the Parish as a 5/5 can just freely block all their ground creatures, and then I'm under a 5-turn clock, which isn't great for me, but is acceptable, I guess you could say. Okay, so they did name Meddling Mage. Archmage's Charm would be a blowout here. I do think they're much more likely to name Winds of Abandon, though. Oh, Snapcaster Mage, which is also not a card we're playing. Fair enough. Opponent has not hit very well on these Meddling Mages, which is why I would tell you, if you want to play humans, you really need to do some research on the format, because I think if opponent had named well here, I would have no shot. But given that they've just straight whiffed on 2 names, they've put me in this game. But this is exactly why I left Archmage's Charm in the deck. 1, it's an out to Aether Vial, which is pretty good. Are they dismembering their own champion? Ooh, that's pretty awkward for me. It does look like they're dismembering their own champion, which is unfortunate. I kind of wish it could have been 1 bigger. Bringing in Dismember against blue-white control, a little awkward. I guess opponent is doing it because they're expecting like a Baneslayer Angel out of the sideboard, which I guess makes sense, but don't really love it. Land. Ugh. So does anything keep me alive here? That Dismember was really unfortunate. I would be at 4 right now with blockers at bay. Yeah, I think I die. I needed to land here to get this Winds back. This Teferi was not the ideal draw. Don't really think anything is going to save me here either. And that certainly doesn't do it. Okay, well. You know, our draw didn't cooperate there. A land would have been fantastic. We didn't hit. That's okay. We can go into game 3. Having seen Dismember, I think it's pretty easy to cut Monastery Mentor. I think that's a pretty easy cut. And I'm fine bringing back in 1 Cryptic. And Spell Snare's not the worst. It's not great, but I can have a Spell Snare in. I will note, I don't think Aether Gust is great against humans, but I do think Celestial Purge is excellent against them. Aw, man. This would be a really nice hand if it had 1 more land. I do think I'm supposed to mulligan, though. Okay. This hand's actually just very good. We've got early interaction. We've got some draw spells. I'm going to bottom the Thought Scour here. I don't think that's a card we need. I'm going to lead on the Pluto Delta and get a Hallowed Fountain and do nothing else. I do need to get a Snowland, but that's not going to be a problem. The Flooded Strand can easily do that for me. And right here, this is why I cut all the counter spells when I board. They just have Cavern of Souls. I just don't think it's right. And Vial, like, exactly the reason I cut all the counter spells. It was just never going to work out for me here if I wanted to go that route. So that's a really good start from the opponent, not going to lie. It's a very good start on their part. And I am really looking to draw a land here. I would love this Frantic Inventory to hit me a land. I would also be happy if the Frantic Inventory, like, you know, if this doesn't hit me a land, if they don't play a Thalia, I might just, or if they do play a Thalia, I might just on Thin Ice it. If they don't, okay, looks like we're Kitesail Freebootering. Maybe they're deciding against it. Could be a meddling, no, double blue. Could be a meddling mage, I would guess. Okay. And this is a great reason to have on Thin Ice in your deck. Boom. Opponent's going to name Path to Exile or Supreme Verdict or anything like that. They somehow have not seen Terminus in 2 games. So they named Path to Exile. That's smart, but we have the on Thin Ice. We have gotten around it. And that's a great reason to just have some random blue or some random bad white kill spells in your deck. Perfect. Second on Thin Ice. So, I do think we're going to spot a land... Oh, Terminus. It's a pretty awkward spot to draw Terminus. It just hits a Meddling Mage. That said, I still think I'm supposed to do it because it's just better in my graveyard than my hand. It's annoying that... I'm not going to get to hit my land drop this turn and I don't get to cast this Frantic Inventory. But that is a spot where, like, in this deck you just want Terminus in your yard. We're playing Thought Scour pretty much to do exactly that. And it does make Path to Exile a better draw for me going forward, so that's good. Looks like a General Kudro here, maybe? No, Kitesail. Alright. Kitesail's good here, but my hand's redundant enough that it doesn't really do that much. And I don't have a very expensive hand. I mean, I am missing on lands, but if I hit a land here, it's a pretty easy just, like, on Thin Ice your Freebooter, and then... You know, draw two out this Frantic to try and hit that 4th land. I've got some Cryptic Taps lined up. I should find a spot to get a Jason play here eventually. Yeah, missing that land was super unfortunate. That is the case. Alright, if this is a Meddling Mage, that's really bad. Alright. Now we're kind of in a tough spot. Yep, opponent seeing the 2 Anthonices really hurts. Alright, now we drew the Path Exile though, which is just totally fine. So, I'm going to Path on their turn. I'm going to let them tick this up to 3 before I do. Because if they have Phantasmal Image in, they could Violet in response to the Path. Name Meddling Mage with Phantasmal. Okay, they didn't tick it up. So I actually did get punished there. I didn't want to give them the extra land here, but they only have 3 cards in hand. My life total is still fairly high, so it's not the end of the world. And we have a lot of removal, so I'm not like freaked out about anything here. Okay, so I played right into this play to avoid giving them a land, but I don't really think I had. I think the upside was worth it, and opponent played around it really well. So that's fine. That is fine. Still just really hoping to draw a land here. A land would be absolutely excellent. Land, please. Great. That works absolutely. All right. Do they have a 3rd Meddling Mage? Oh, Kaitsufu. That's fine. That's fine. The Freebooter here, just not a big deal. We have 2 Anthonices. Just not a big deal at all. Opponent is down to 2 cards, though. And they're not going to be able, like, they don't have any of their Canopy lands, so they're not going to be able to cycle here. I think what I'm actually going to end up doing here is just turn off Phantasmal Image as a draw step. So what I want to do is on Thin Ice this island, get rid of this Kite Sail, get my on Thin Ice back. I don't want to let Phantasmal Image be super effective against me. I'm fine going down to 13. My life total is still fairly high. I'm going to on Thin Ice again and get rid of this Kite Sail. And now I've got to draw 2 lined up for next turn, which is going to be pretty good. And I'm going to be able to use that to hit my land drops. If opponent has like a really good turn of like a Mantis Rider plus like a Phantasmal Image, that would be pretty good. Okay, it seems like they just maybe flooded here. And yeah, we were going to get to Frantic Inventory and start getting these online, and then opponent was going to have a really hard time coming back from that, I think. We were even going to draw the land, so we would have just been able to play Jace, and then Jace was going to hit a Terminus, and yeah, that was going to be all they wrote. Okay, well, that's a nice game 1 win. Happy we could get that W in there real quick. Alright, we're back here for round 2. Still seeing how this deck looks. Okay. Got some Thought Scours, I got a Teferi. Terminus in the hand is not ideal, but I still think it's a keep. I got mana, I got some good spells. Got some cantrips to kind of get the engine going. I like where this is at. Still kind of unsure on Thought Scour. Obviously I think it's pretty good, but still a little unsure on it. I'm going to have an interesting decision here, and do I fetch Hallowed Fountain and Thought Scour, or do I Temple Garden tapped? That is not something you see very much. I would guess it's a Bant deck. Temple Garden tapped makes me think it's okay to shock Hallowed Fountain and start Thought Scouring myself. That would be my guess, so I'm going to do it. Alright, milled another Thought Scour. Archmage's Charm. Alright, perfect. So, I guess I'm playing this tapped because I can't cast anything, and then probably just going to Thought Scour myself again, and then next turn I can either Teferi or Archmage's Charm, whichever I think is going to be better. I'd like to hit the land off of this, but Jace would be good too. Okay, so it does look like a Bant deck. That makes sense to me. Makes a lot of sense. In these counterspell matchups, these like blue mirrors, you would think Archmage's Charm is often used as a counterspell. Okay, opponent's Growth Spiraling. Interesting. So it makes me do. I do think they probably have a Force Negation. So like I could jam Teferi here, but it's really bad for me. I'd rather just pass, Mana Leak their play if need be. If not, just draw 2 with Archmage's Charm to make sure I hit my land drop next turn. Casting stuff into like getting force negation is really brutal in these mirrors. So you got to really pick your spot with Teferi. You'd like to cast it with some counterspell backup. You can't just jam like you could in standard if they tapped out. Okay, that's pretty annoying. So I could jam Teferi here. Again, though, I think they have... I think it feels like they're playing like they have force negation just based on their willingness to tap out on their turn. But given that I have a follow-up if I do draw the land, I don't want to do this pattern of like play into Cryptic again because I don't have the force to back up. So I think what I'm going to do is just Mind Rot them here, just play my Teferi and just accept it's getting force negated, but it eats 2 of their cards. Oh, hello. Well, now I'm going to minus to try and hit my land. I think that's good here. I'd very much like to do that. Alright, we drew Entreat the Angels, which was probably the worst draw in our entire deck, although will be good if I can hit the land for the Jace next turn. Teferi Resolving is a very nice punish for us. I guess I could see them, yeah, just jam their own Teferi. That does make sense. Still, I like our spot better than theirs at the moment. So they can't Mystic Sanctuary here. Oh, they're just a 4-color deck? What are they playing? Helix, what the heck? I guess this is like Saheeli. Could be like a Saheeli deck. That would make some sense to me. Alright, land please. Good time for a land. Thank you. So do I want to put anything back on top? My graveyard is 3 Thought Scours, an Archmage's Charm, and a Frantic Inventory. I don't think that's where I want to go here. I think I'm just going to get an island and start Jacing. I think that's the place to go. If they have Force Negation here, they have it, but they didn't have it for my Teferi, so I think that's fine. Yeah, they could, like, get back... oh, this is actually very good. So I'm going to put Entreat and Terminus on top. They could get back Lightning Helix here and Lightning Helix my Jace, but I think I'm fine with that. If they want to use like a Mystic Sanctuary and like a draw step to kill my Jace, I can get behind. Like, I can accept that as a trade. Especially because, yeah, okay, so they are going to do that. But again, now they're stuck with 3 cards in hand. They don't have that much going on. And it's not clear, like, that they have a great way to punish what I'm doing, so I could certainly see... Are they just going to cast just like a... Oh, big Teferi, yikes. That's not good for me. That is the disaster scenario. I was hoping they'd have to minus this. Well, yeah, this is not good. This is very not good. Yeah, this is very much not good. And I'm just not gonna be able to stop this Lightning Helix. Now they got 2 Planeswalkers going. Yeah, this is gonna be a problem. No. Also, Miracle doesn't work because of Teferi. Yeah, this is just a disaster. This is very bad. So, how do I get out of this? I think it starts by frantic inventorying myself. Alright, my own Teferi will be good. I do think that is the case. Don't want any of these. Drawing. No, I don't really want any of them. I guess I have to target and then say no. Nope. So, I could draw 2 again, which I think I'm going to do. I just want to hit my land drops and discard some of these miracle spells. They're really bad with an opponent's Teferi in play. Yeah, that's fine. You can't use Miracle with that in play because Teferi is a card that doesn't make any sense at all, as it turns out. Okay, I was going to say, the Temple Garden really threw me off earlier, but the fact that they're playing Uro makes a lot of sense. I don't think I'm going to be able to grind this out, would be my guess. They just have way too many resources happening here. Although, they are kind of running low. Nah, they're just going to get to draw so many cards. This is going to be tough. This is a matchup where the force negations matter a lot. And like you saw there, just not being, like, having my Teferi in play and not being able to counter theirs is really hurting us here. Yeah, I mean, the card is just that good. It really punishes you. Nope, I don't want to Miracle a Terminus because I could not cast it if I did. So, what's the best way to get out of this? It seems incredibly likely to me that opponent has a counterspell. But I don't think I can win the game if they do. So given that, I'm going to make a play that gives me a chance to win if they don't have the counterspell. And if this does get countered... Okay, Snap Cryptic. Yeah, I'll concede to this. Just wasting everyone's time. Big Teferi for too many turns. They also have Uro. The Lightning Helix was really big there. Yeah, I mean, I played in a way where I said it was going to be fine, and I still think it kind of was, but yeah, not great. So we're going to bring in a bunch of threats here, though. I think that's fine. Don't really want Purge. Path and Terminus are the easy cuts. The rest seem okay to me. I could bring in Gust for Uro and, like, Helix, but I don't think that's the way I want to go. I just want to be more threat dense. Just keep their Teferis off the board. Yeah. And I think I lost some points there to opponent being more prepared for the game one setup, if that makes sense. They have a better deck for the game ones, and that's fine. That's gonna happen some percentage of games. Alright, game two. Yeah, this is a good hand. This is a good hand. So I'm gonna play the Sanctuary as my fourth land. The play pattern of just Archmage's Charm on turn 3 and draw 2, and then Sanctuary back is just very good. I'm a big fan of that. I'll even get to cycle this ahead of time, so really like this hand. Yeah, big fan of it. I'm gonna lead on the Tapped Halo Fountain. I think that's easy. I think that's pretty easy. Alright. Okay, so I guess I have the choice between Thought Scouring and Frantic Inventory here. I think it's an easy Frantic Inventory. This one, you just want to be mana efficient with the clunky card draw spells. If opponent doesn't force me to do anything here, which it's very unlikely they will, it seems like their impressive cards start on turn 3, then I'll be just completely fine to, man, opponent's mana base, wild. Mystic Sanctuary with a Windswept Teeth. I guess they're probably a Field of the Dead deck, and that's just like the thing I didn't see. But, whew. Welcome to the party and treat. We were missing you, buddy. Happy you showed up. Guess it would have been a lot better to Thought Scour there, huh? Oh well. Gonna happen some percentage of the time. Now these tap out decks, like the one I'm playing against, are actually really bad at against our deck that's better at playing instant speed. The reality of this scenario, where our deck is better set up to be instant speed and they have better tap out permanence, is I really want to avoid a scenario where we both have a Teferi in play, because I will be losing that game, and instead I would rather put myself in a spot where we both don't have Teferi in play and we're both trying to play on each other's turns, because that will actually end up favoring me. I do have Entreat as a double white spell, but I am in no rush to get double white. Post-board, I have very little white spells in my deck. I'm mostly a blue deck, like splashing a couple Planeswalkers, so the one white source is fine. Okay, Force and Negation does kind of punish my line there, but not a big deal. I'm gonna start by Thought Scouring in case I hit something I want to sank back. Ooh, and I would like to draw that Frantic Inventory. That sounds pretty good. That worked out very nice. And now I can still have Mana Leak and Spell Snare up on their turn, so not really concerned about any of that. And you see opponents tapping out on their turn, just completely unafraid of me slamming Teferi, because it does seem like they also understand that that's the scenario, that, both players have a Teferi in play is favoring them, which does make sense. Alright, we are going to miss our land drop here. That's unfortunate, but there's just no chance I'm spending a mana on my own turn when I have 2 counter spells I could hold up. It just lets opponent like play the flash game better than me. And missing my land drop here is not the end of the world. I'm going to start hitting when I cast this Frantic. Yeah, if opponent wants to bolt me, that's fine. If they are just throwing a card away for that, that is just A-okay. If they Snapcaster here and try and Snap Bolt, you better believe I will Spell Snare. Happily do that. Doesn't look like they're going to, though. Alright. And they actually missed their land drop, too, so we're not even punished at all. And we get to cast the better draw spell here. And we get to do it... Oh, they're just second main facing it. Never mind. Ignore all of that. Ignore all of that. But I'm going to Frantic Inventory here. Draw 2 cards. Yep, that went great. That was fantastic. So given that I get to hit my land drop next turn, I am just very happy to keep Franticking. And this is why Frantic Inventory is so strong. Even as a draw 2, just use your Sanks on it repeatedly, and I just get to cast Divination like every other turn. It's just so strong. Yeah, I can't get behind my opponent doing the burnout plan. It might be the case that they're like setting up something like an Uro here, but I just don't think this is very good at all. And I'm not going to do anything. I think it is reasonable given opponent's going to miss their land drop to like Cryptic Bounce like their red source or something. But no reason to get antsy here and go for a play I don't need to make. We do know one of their cards in hand is Force Negation. So we know, I mean, they have 5 cards. We know for sure one is Force. Okay. Well, the only thing that stops this is Cryptic. So I'm going to cast my Cryptic. Counter draw. I assume they're hard casting the Force, and we'll mana leak that. And the patience has paid off here. We have now won a pretty big fight. They can't force on their turn, so unless they have something crazy like a Pact or Negation, we come out on top here, which is pretty nice. And we even get to hit our land, which is excellent. And probably slamming Teferi here. Teferi 5. Oh, yeah, we even drew the counterspell. So they might have a Force Negation. They certainly could have that. I could see it being safer to play this Teferi. If you told me that I should be playing this Teferi, I would buy that. That said, they already used 1 Force Negation. Huh. You know what? I am going to get this one going. I think that might be slightly safer. I'm going to get this one going because I really just want to avoid them having this Teferi in play. And if they want to force this, yeah, okay, that's fine. That is A-okay with me. So we actually played around that very well. Played around that very, very well. We get to keep our Planeswalker that's better. We get to still hold up counter magic on the opponent's turn. They're down to 1 card in hand and then a card they just drew, which is fine. But we're going to get to Frantic and draw 2 here again. And if we hit our land, we can then have Teferi with Archmage's Charm, which will just be excellent. Yeah, snap. We get to even use the Spell Snare here. This is just going perfect. Opponent's just getting buried because we managed to put ourselves in a spot where everything kind of worked for us, you know? Okay, On Thin Ice isn't great, but if they draw an Uro, it will be. So let's get big Teferi in play. Oh, wow, that just resolved. So now I need to decide, do I want to redraw like a Frantic Inventory or a Cryptic? I could also buy that I should redraw... I think I want to redraw Cryptic here. Yes. You know what? I don't want to... I think I can just not rebuy anything at this point. Okay, well, On Thin Ice isn't great, but it's fine. It's fine. Not a big deal. It's a nice spot to get a Prairie Stream, too. I don't even have to pay the life. Looked pretty good there. Yeah, so opponent's down to 1 card in hand. We got our Charm. I'm still not going to use it. I'm not in any hurry here. I've got the Planeswalker in play. I'd rather use it for the counterspell mode when I'm up on cards and have the draw engine going. Alright, we lost a Mentor, but now we have 3 inventories in our yard, and saving the Mystic Sanctuary is looking better and better. Because now I can just put a draw 3 on top of my deck, which is just very strong. And actually, I was saying, you know, before, I wasn't sure if Thought Scour or Opt was better. Thought Scour is looking excellent this game so far. Just very good. Yep, I get to draw a draw 3. That sounds spectacular. I will cast it now. If opponent wants to counter this, fine. So I can even play Teferi here with Counterspell backup, and given they have one card, they need to have like a veto to stop this. And they just don't have that. Alright, I'm going to plus, save it for like a Uro or something along those lines. Get to pass, still holding up Archmage Charm, still have this Thought Scour. There's a lot of matchups where I would consider Thought Scouring the opponent. This is probably not one of them, given that we saw Uro. But when we, yeah, opponent's just done anyway. I mean, they're going to lose to the Teferi ult. So I'm going to say we're going to get to a spot where we can, like, Jace and then, we can Jace and then, like, put the Entreat back and then be able to cast the Entreat on their turn. And that'll all be good, but no reason to try and do any of that. Alternatively, if we got another white source, all right, this is an easy mulligan. This hand isn't great. It's certainly not great, but I think it is a keep. I do think it's a keep. It's a really strong hand on the draw. I have a bunch of good interactive pieces. I would love to draw a basic land. I would love that, but I think this is a keep, and I think On Thin Ice is the easy bottom here. On Thin Ice is like a card you want to draw in the middle of the game, not great in your opening hand in this matchup, and I'd just rather have the blue spells that I could pitch to this force or my cheap counters. I do think it would be really nice to draw a basic land. Mystic Sanctuary is not that. I am supposed to lead on Prairie Stream still. So it may come up because of how awkward this mana is that I'm going to need to, like, force a negation to counter a Teferi on turn 3, but it might not. It might not. Spell Snare in your opener in Blue Mirrors is just excellent, though. If opponent main phase Growth Spirals, that would be a little unfortunate. I would not love that, but yeah, they don't have the mana for it because they're playing a very interesting 4-mana colored deck. Alright, can I draw... Nope, the On Thin Ice we bottomed. Perfect. Perfect! Alright. Opponent is just running out the snap. Okay, so this is a spot where Force Negation looks really good. I get to counter the snap. It's not a value snap, so it's not like really the one you want to counter, but it is it's still a good one. And if opponent is gonna force or cast the Teferi, I mean I have to use my counterspell here. The question now is do I want my Jace or do I want my Mana Leak? And I think I'm better pitching the Mana Leak just so that I have a play that is going to start getting me card advantage and get me back in the game. I think that's where I have to go. Drawing 2 Mystic Sanctuaries in your opener really stinks for sure. I would love to just draw any... man. Mystic Sanctuary is a really broken card, but when this happens, it's really unfortunate. And yeah, I mean, right there, that would have been a prime turn to just slam it to Fairy and get them to mind rot their force, but we have not drawn particularly well here, so... It is what it is. I am now in a spot where I can't play an instant speed game because I just don't have the cards for it. So I am basically pressured in to jamming either Teferi or Jace. And I do feel like, based on the way opponent played, that they have a Force Negation in their hand. It's kind of awkward to just jam a turn 3 Teferi if they don't. And now it's even more awkward because they get to just hardcast it instead of having to spend 2 cards. All of that said, I am going to be okay with this Teferi getting countered. I don't love it, but I'm going to be okay with it. And hope that the Jace is the thing I can make resolve. They could do something on this turn that really punishes me, certainly. Fetch up Sanctuary, put Force on top, 5-mana Teferi, I think wins the game on the spot here, and I just am not going to be able to do anything about it. I mean, I only have 2 removal spells in my deck. I bottomed 1 and then immediately drew the second, which is pretty unfortunate. But, okay, at least they don't have the Sank. At least they don't have the Sank. Hour of Promise. Well, that's bad for me. But they don't have Field of the Dead online yet. It's not online yet. So, if they don't have another Force Negation here, I'm going to get to put a Jace in play, which will be pretty good. The question is, do I want to draw my Force? Because... I guess I can see my draw step before I make that decision. Okay, I probably do want the Force. It is actually nice that I've drawn so many Mystic Sanctuaries that the third one turns itself on. So even though I was punished by that, Mystic Sanctuary is nice in the fact that it lets you do that. Alright, so I'm going to get Jace here. I'm going to get to Brainstorm. It's going to be tough to beat this Field of the Dead, certainly. But Cryptic's not a bad way to do it. And I have not played a land, so I'm actually going to play my land. The thing I want to pitch is this Frantic Inventory, so I want to draw the Cryptic. So I'm going to do that, get my land in play, play it tapped, and just pass. It's going to, like, if opponent has a really good turn here, it's going to be tough. I'm not going to lie. And, like, one land gets them 2 zombies here. It has to be a land they don't have yet, but it does get them 2 zombies, which is pretty annoying. Alright, that's 2 zombies. We don't have a ton of spot removal, so going to be tough. But Mentor can outpace this. Okay. I really don't want my Force Negation to get countered, but I can't see me winning this game without this Jace active, so I do kind of have to go for it. It's awkward because they know I have this Force because of Sanctuary. So what this feels like to me is they're baiting me, like they're going to lead with maybe another Hour of Promise here, or, okay, Uro. Uro's beatable. It's not good for me, certainly, but it is beatable. Okay, Field of Ruin, kind of a disaster. That's even more zombies. Yeah, this isn't great. Not great. Especially because now my Cryptic's going away, which is even worse. I do think... Okay, no, they're going to let me draw Cryptic. That's very interesting. I guess they don't want to shuffle from the Jace, or they're just saving it for end step in case of a sweeper. No, they're upkeeping it. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Sure. Oh. So, white source is fine here. I probably just want an island, though. What I need here... What I need is something like a Mentor. Mentor would be very good. Okay, land was not the thing that was very good. That's fine, though. Cryptic or Mentor. Ugh. Well, that wasn't it. That is, you got 3 looks at something and you hardcore whiffed. I actually think we just died because now my Jace dies and now I'm Brainstorm locked. I'm drawing Basic Island in the next 2 turns. That was about as bad as it could have gone. And opponent gets to bring back Uro. Yeah, I'm going to save us the time. I don't think we can win this game. I'm just going to lose this Uro. I can't counter it. They get to bring it back. That's just going to get me. Well, that's unfortunate. The Jace Brainstorm whiff there. We mulliganed, kept a looser hand, had some awkward draws, just couldn't really counter the things we needed to counter. I do think that should be a pretty good matchup. But yeah, we came out on the short side of it. I might have played a little loose, but again, I think it's fine. But yeah, let's keep testing. It's more about learning anyway. So let's go straight into game 3. All right, game 3. Run the die roll again, which is nice. And yeah, we got a pretty good hand. And treating your opening hand is not where you want to be generally, but not going to send this back. I've got some early plays, which is pretty nice. And again, we're 1 Jacer Teferi away from this entreat being totally reasonable. Going to save the Field of Ruin until turn 3. Would like to do a... Okay. Looks like it's a Swift Spear. I don't want to path the Swift Spear this turn. It's actually, I think, slightly better to save the path for a turn where they kind of go in on some prowess stuff. I'm just going to get a Hallowed Fountain in play now to save some life. Could have gone Prairie Stream, but I think it's going to be better for me to go Prairie Stream at a later turn where I might need double white and save the life from like having to fetch Shock. So I do prefer to keep it there. Okay. Opponent doesn't have another land, so I really don't want to path this. I'm going to take damage and stay away from that for a little bit at least. I will path at some point in the future, but yeah, this turn I just want to get some Frantic Inventory going. And Teferi. Teferi was an excellent draw. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to play Teferi, bounce the Swift Spear. Teferi's going to die, but at least it, like, eats up their mana better, you know? I'm sitting on a virtual 14, but now unless they draw land, their turn kind of just has to be... Okay, well, they even use the 2 damage, which I think is poor, but that's fine. We'll take it. Not going to complain about that. So if they draw land... Okay, they did draw land, so that was a good draw on their part. But they did it in a somewhat mana inefficient way, which I'm fine with. Totally fine with. So it doesn't look like I'm going to get a target for this Field of Ruin, which is a shame. But I can now double path this turn, which I probably will do. I will probably do. If they cast the spell, I will respond by pathing the Lava Man. If the Lava Man attacks here, yeah, alright. I am going to path. I'm not taking any more damage. I'm not about that. Not about the taking more damage life. I would love to Terminus here and not give them lands because they have 6 cards, so the thing they're missing is mana, which is unfortunate, but we're still at a pretty high life total, so overall, not a rush. Alright, they're suspending Rift Bolts. But honestly, if you want to suspend Rift Bolts here, that's fine with me. They don't get to use their Lava Man, so I do think it's actually going to be better. Ooh, I even hit the Terminus. That's very nice. Alright, so not pathing and scouring first actually played quite well there. Got to get rid of the Lava Man. It never did a point of damage to us, which is very nice. I'm not going to get a Field of Ruin target, so I am just going to have to play this Mystic Sanctuary, and that is unfortunate. And I'm going down to 9 here, which is also unfortunate. But these burn decks don't have a ton of ways that, like, they don't have a ton of 3 damage spells anymore. They're playing stuff like Seal of Fire and Lightning, or Lava Dart. Although, this could be like Incinerator Burn. That would make sense why they're doing this Rift Bolt thing. But Incinerator is not really a card I care that much about. Because I can just path it. If they want like 2 Incinerators here, that would be unfortunate, certainly. Okay. Maybe they were just sitting on a bunch of 3-mana kills or burn spells. Alright. Well, when they cast the next one, I'm going to Thought Scour in response and hope I hit a mana leak. Okay, Rift Bolt enters the exile zone. So, what do I want here? I want Teferi, because Teferi actually shuts all this off. Teferi would be a great draw. Archmage's Charm, not a fantastic draw, but it does play. It does at least keep me alive, so that is good. And I think I need to draw this Cryptic Command if I'm going to have any real chance. Opponent's down to 2 cards, and I don't think they necessarily have the kill because they would have just done it last turn, I think. It's kind of my read on the situation. And I am protected from creatures in path, in the form of path, so that is good. I mean, obviously they might have just been saving more so they can overload me this turn, but I don't think they necessarily have it yet. Okay, I mean, they had it. That's tough. That's a burn opponent keeping a... Yeah, and I can scour here, but really doesn't do anything, so I'm just going to scour them and just get some information. See if I can see some more stuff. Okay, so they are the Incinerator build. That is good to know. Okay. Yeah, we died. Teferi would have been really good there. Obviously, we didn't draw it, but, you know, it's fine. It's fine. And this is a spot where not having the Timelies is going to cost us. We do have a lot of good cards for this matchup, though. A lot of cheap, good spells. I don't think this is an Entreat matchup. This is the type of matchup where I can just easily win with my Planeswalkers, and I don't really need to be super concerned about winning. I could board in Mentor, but I don't love Mentor against Seal of Fire. It's just okay. Terminus is a little clunky. I still want access to it, but I don't want a lot. And when you cut down on your Miracle package, you always cut this Teferi in boarding, just FYI. It did not seem like opponent had very many 2-mana spells. They probably have exactly Eidolon, which, you know, not something I love, but I can definitely cut. I'm going to bring back in 1 Terminus. Teferi does seem good against them. We saw Incinerator, we saw Rift Bolt. It's actually going to be better against them than it looks. I think maybe what I'm supposed to do here is cut some Frantic Inventories. That strikes me as the best thing, because I'm not going to need a ton of card advantage. I also don't think it's crazy to cut a Field of Ruin. I'm going to cut a Jace. Yeah, I like the Terminus enough. Huh. I don't really want to cut down on interaction. Maybe I cut a Thought Scour. Yeah, I'm going to cut a Thought Scour into Terminus. I just have so much early removal that Terminus isn't going to be great. It's nice to have access to it a little bit, but I don't want to go overboard on it. Okay. Kind of an awkward hand here. I do have some early interaction. I am on the play. I think this is a keep, but it's not one I'm super excited about, certainly. I'm going to lead on the Mystic Sanctuary. I don't love this, but if we draw a land, I think we're in a really good spot. If we don't draw a land, it's going to be tougher, but I think we're still okay. Okay, Seal of Fire is fine. That's not something I'm super concerned about. Like, we already have we have multiple answers for an Incinerator here. I don't even think that card's particularly good against this build of the deck. Okay, Thoughtscour is actually a better draw than it looks. It's a way we can use our Sanctuary mana this turn and still get a tapped Hallowed Fountain here and not take the 2 damage. So I think that's pretty nice. I do think that's pretty nice. Alright, we're playing like an Eidolon here. I could buy Eidolon. Not just some Lava Spikes. Okay, maybe this is the Incinerator. I'm going to take the first Lava Spike, certainly. And, yep. We're going to stick with the plan here. Get this tapped Hallowed Fountain. I'm fetching before I Thought Scour, even though I'd like to draw a land, because there's the corner case scenario of Thought Scouring both of them. Both my Hallowed Fountains, which would be kind of awkward. It might have been better to fetch after Thought Scouring, but I think it's minor enough that it's not really going to cost you. Okay, we drew a land. It's not the perfect land, but just every land we're just trying to cast a Jace is fine. And now we can do 2 mana spell plus Thought Scour, so that's pretty good. It's pretty good. Obviously the Field of Ruins look bad here, and that's why I was saying you could board one out. Because they are just a colorless land, they don't cast that much stuff. I still just want enough lands, but if you told me on the draw you wanted to cut a Field of Ruin, I could buy it. I don't think that's crazy by any means. So maybe I'll light up the stage here. It's weird to Lava Spike there if you're not lighting up the stage. Yeah, okay. So opponent's just not doing anything, which is, I think, kind of strange. They're just letting me get more set up, which I don't really like from their perspective. But, again, it's fine. Alright, I am going to tap out here, cast a Frantic Inventory. Not a big deal. It's going to make this one a lot better. Hopefully I draw a land here, because I have a lot of 2-mana spells. I'd love to be able to, like, Celestial Purge plus Inventory or Gust plus Inventory next turn. But we'll find out. Okay. Well, we drew the Prairie Stream, which is looking real bad here. Worse than Hallowed Fountain for sure. Ugh. So that's a decision and a half. I guess I'm going to play the Field of Ruins so I can double spell. My hand is set up in a fashion where it's better to do it that way, but yeah, this ain't great, that's for sure. That is for sure. I do think it's better than playing Tap Prairie Stream there, though, because then, like, if I could Archmage's Charm, it would make sense to play the Prairie Stream, but given that I can't even do that, I really don't like it. So it does look like opponent was setting up to do, like, a Swift Spear plus stuff turn, and that makes some sense to me. I am just going to purge this Swift Spear, though. Oh, no, don't want to tap the second one. In this matchup, you can afford to take damage off their Lava Spikes and Bolts and Rift Bolts, but you just cannot let creatures hit you very much. We don't have a bunch of life gain in this deck, so that's just the reality of the situation we are in. It's also kind of awkward. We're only playing 2 Field of Ruins, and we've drawn both. Wow, this is really just a disaster of a scenario here, honestly. Okay, I'm going to play the Prairie Stream. We're trying to set up so that next turn we can go Jace plus Gust to their play. We might need to use both Gusts this turn. It's unclear. We will find out, though. The opponent's really slow playing it. I think they're just trying to save up a massive burn spells, which makes sense. Does make sense. Field of Ruins looking really bad here, though. I gotta be honest. It is not looking good at all. And not being able to Archmage's Charm here is kind of a disaster. I would love to be able to just end-step draw it too, but I'm not going to be able to. Oh, Force Negation was an excellent draw. Excellent, excellent draw. So now I'm going to Jace and Brainstorm, and if they want to use a Bolt on my Jace, that's fine. I can definitely accept that. I really need to hit a basic land here. It's kind of where we're at. But having Force Negation plus Gust next turn sounds excellent. So just would love to hit a basic land here. Absolutely love it. And yeah, I mean, if they want to use a Bolt on my Jace, more power to them. I am happy if Jace is Brainstorm plus gain 3 life in this matchup. That is fine by me. 3 damage. Skull crack my Jace. Sure. That's even better for me. I'll take that. So, do I want to shuffle any of this away? I would buy that I do want to shuffle away a basic land. And I think one of the Archmage's Charms I can get rid of. I think I can get rid of one of the Archmage's Charms. Actually, I think I'll just redraw the Archmage's Charm. I kind of like it. Yeah, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to play the Plains so that I do get to redraw the Archmage's Charm. Now that we're starting to get blue mana, like, I'm going to be able to play this. Then I'll be able to, you know, on Thin Ice their thing next turn. I could also... There's actually a real chance here that the thing I do is force a negation and pitch Archmage's Charm this turn. I would buy that. Suspending another Rift Bolt. Shard Volley me. That is an excellent card to Aether Gust. Excellent card to Aether Gust. I imagine they will bottom that one. They topped Shard Volley? Excuse me? What? What's happening? What is this? Alright, Incinerator. Incinerator's just fine. That is just... I mean, we're just going to snap off the On Thin Ice on it. Just not worried at all. This card is looking really bad right here. It's not... Against blue-white is not the matchup you want that card. You'd much rather have it against red removal or black removal. Against Path to Exile and On Thin Ice and Aether Gust, it's just really, really poor. I mean, I'm going to counter it this time. I think this is a pretty easy counter. Counter this spell. And I think this is going to end the game. I don't really see opponent coming back from this. So I could put something back on top. I do think, though, that it's still going to be better to just get a Hallowed Fountain tapped. My hand is good enough that I don't need to start Mystic Sanctuarying here yet. Opponent's stuck on one land. We are going to need to find something that's going to end the game here. So basically, any Planeswalker will do it. Yeah, I mean, we can find a ton of stuff. And I am also just going to fire off the Archmage's Charm here. We have multiple counter spells we can cast, so draw 2 is much better than having a third counter. Yep, an opponent's going to cast their Bolt. I could take this. I also think it's a pretty good spot to just use the Force Negation. Just counter it. Alright, and now we got a Mana Leak, which is, for all intents and purposes... Okay, that was a fantastic draw. That was just the exact draw we wanted. And I do think, even though I'm going to 6, it is a good time to get a Mystic Sanctuary and draw an Archmage's Charm so that I can keep the cards flowing, but also just have a counterspell if I need it. It's also a removal spell, which is relevant for this scenario. Now I'm going to untap blue mana. I have a ton of white mana. There's no world where I'm untapping Field of Ruin, so I'll untap both my blue sources and pass the turn. And now, opponent needs to find 2 burn spells that they can cast with their limited mana before my Teferi gets to ult, which is just... I mean, in that, like, through 3 counterspells, there's just no chance that's going to happen. Yeah, now creatures won't even do it. I think this game we can chalk one up as being well done. I do think that I could Archmage's Charm here and draw 2. And then I would get to untap, and that would be pretty good. I don't think I need to, though. I think I can just wait a turn. It being a hard counter at this point is fine, and I just have so much mana that making sure I get that extra 2 mana doesn't really matter. I'm going to Mana Leak this. Going to 3 is not something I'm super interested in doing here. Oh, and I even get to untap my lands. They should have waited for that trigger. It doesn't actually matter, but they definitely should have waited there. Okay, and opponent has conceded. That makes sense. I think that game was done. I do think that game was done. So, any changes after seeing what they're doing? I still haven't seen Eidolon. We saw a Skull Crack, but for the most part, Spell Snare seems pretty bad. I've only seen Incinerator and Swift Spear as creatures. I guess I saw Grim Lavamancer. But I don't want to go heavy on Terminus when I have Gust, Path, On Thin Ice, Winds, Purge. I think I'm good there. And even because a lot of them cost 1, like I do have Archmage's Charm. I could see an argument to bringing in Vetoes. This deck feels very burn heavy. And being able to draw some Vetoes seems pretty good to me. I think I will bring in a Veto. Maybe 1 or 2. I could buy that I'm supposed to cut some frantic inventories. I just think they're a little crucial for the deck. I think I'm just going to cut all the terminuses and just bring in both vetoes. Of course, I'm going to get like immediately punished by them having a very creature-heavy draw, but the way their deck looks built, it feels like they're the more classic burn style where it's just a whole bunch. This is an awkward hand. It's close, certainly. I think it's a keep, but man, this is tough because just not having a removal spell is just really bad against them. Yeah, and this Swift Spear is going to end up doing a lot of damage. I maybe should have mulliganed just to have a Path or an Onthanize or anything, but we could still draw those. How do I feel about Prairie Stream? That's going to come into play tapped or untapped later. I think I can just get Flooded Strand here and Thought Scour. I really want to find a Path, so I want to just start, you know, like cycling through my deck. But it doesn't feel like they necessarily have a ton of creatures here. Although, okay, well now they have the Eidolon. Perfect. So we said we didn't see Eidolon, and then this is the game we get punished for it, so perfect. And I cut my terminuses, so I don't even have like a free answer to it, which is pretty awkward. Okay, but we did draw the Path. The Path is good here. The Path is quite good here. So, what do I want to do this turn? I think I'm pathing almost 100% of the time, which means it's probably right to play Plains and then path the Eidolon, post them casting spells. I might as well take the damage. I'm not going to win with damage, but I may as well take it. It's not going to cost me that much. Okay. I will path now. It stinks I have to take this too, but I'm still going to do it. I do have an answer for the Swift Spear lined up in Archmage's Charm. It's not perfect by any means, but it is an answer. So I do have that. I could have bought... You could have sold me on I was supposed to path on my turn to play around Chandra's Incinerator. The post-combat Seal of Fire is very strange to me. I don't really understand this. I guess they just have like another Rift Bolt or another Seal of Fire here, and they're just... Yeah, okay. Okay. Fair enough. Oh, Force Negation is excellent. That is a very good draw. And this is just the... okay, so it is awkward that they're going to kill Teferi with Seal of Fire so that the Rift Bolt does work. But what I can do here is just plus, and then this just eats their Rift Bolt, which I think is good enough. I think it's good enough. I get to trade Teferi for 3 life, and they don't even necessarily kill it this turn. They might, but I do have this Force Negation to kind of get around that. So I think this is good. It's just like a preemptive counterspell, and it might like even gain me 6 life because they might end up seal-firing it. Or the seal-firing me. Okay. So I do think they're trying to Incinerator here, maybe? Interesting. I'm not entirely sure. No skewer. Okay, so I do think they're trying to Incinerator me. Given that, I am just going to Force Will this because now they just can't Incinerator. Question is, what do I pitch? Is it Frantic Inventory or Archmage's or Veto? I think it's Frantic Inventory. I just am not going to have enough time in this game. Realistically. Okay, Bolt me. That's fine. I'm taking a lot of damage here, which I don't like, but it does feel to me like one of the cards in their hand is Incinerator based on how they've played. What? Oh, it costs 5 less. Okay, well, I maybe screwed that up. Does this thing have Trampled too? Oh man, they get to deal damage to me and hurt the... Ugh. This should not be that good against me, but it is really good there. Okay. Purge is a good draw, though. Purge is a good draw. So, now they have 1 card in hand. I get to purge the Incinerator and counter whatever non-creature spell they play. And then I can steal the Swift Spear on the next turn. So I do like where we've gotten to. I do like where we've gotten to. I think this game's going to be close, but I like our spot. Is this Shard Volley? Interesting. Well, I am going to veto that. They're going to go to combat. I'm going to let them declare attacks first because I think doing that is important. And, yep. Now I'm going to purge this. Teferi's going to go to 1, but he stays in play, which is crucial. I can't get a Mystic Sanctuary. It would be pretty good here if I could, though. And then, yep, purge this guy. And now, I'm at 8 life versus 1 card in hand, 2 lands, and I get to steal the Swift Spear next turn. So, okay, opponent has no cards. They have 3 lands versus nothing, essentially, which is great. Which is absolutely great. I'm definitely stealing Swift Spear this turn. I don't think it's close. Yep. I think that's just definitely going to happen. So hard cast Rift Bolt. Now Skewer. Alright, fine. I would like to gain control of target permanent with CMC 1 or less. Thank you. And I'm down to 5, but opponent needs 2 burn spells to get me. Alright, let's start with a Thought Scour. See what we hit. Ooh, we even get to use the Prowess. That's sick. Mystic Sanctuary. That's pretty good. So what do we want to draw here? I think it's... it's actually probably Cryptic. I could buy that it's Archmage's Charm, but it's probably Cryptic. Oh, another Teferi is excellent, too. Wow. Just very good. So I think it's going to be Archmage's Charm, though. Cryptic can put you in some awkward spots. I think I'd rather just draw Archmage's Charm. I just want to keep the cards flowing. I don't think the damage is relevant enough that I'm going to, like, risk them drawing a Swift Spear and getting a point in. I would like to be able to fetch again and get a Mystic Sanctuary at some point. Soul Guide Lantern. That's good, but I already got to use my Sanctuary, so it's not the end of the world by any means. Definitely not the end of the world. And I do imagine they're just going to pop it for a card. I think they are kind of forced in at this point. Alright. So I'm going to happily cash this Teferi in. I'm not going to bounce anything. If I bounce the Soul Guide, they could fizzle it, and that's just not worth it to me. That is just not at all worth it to me. Okay. Sanctuary is pretty good. This actually does force them to, like, tap and sack, so they don't even get to draw the card if they want to stop this. So, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. And I think the clear get here is Force Negation, because I have Archmage Charm lined up to counter a creature should I need to. And they do pop into Exile Graveyards, which is fine. Like, honestly, drawing the Force Negation is not, like, crucial anyway. So, I'm going to plus the Teferi here because they could draw, like, a Grim Lava Mancer, and that'd be good to bounce. And then I am going to attack because I have the Archmage's Charm to counter any play that they could make this turn, essentially. I think it's a pretty easy spot to just leave up the counter and pass. I will counter Lava Spike. I do want to do that. I just want to keep them... I just want to keep my life total above 3. Oh, we hit a Jace. Hello, Jace! Welcome to the party, my friend. Alright. So, I am going to cash this in for a card before I Jace Brainstorm. And we hit a Mana Leak. That's spectacular. Opponent is getting kind of salty about this, and I am here for it. Bathe me in your salt, opponent. I am here for it. I'm going to put my land into play now. We saw Soul Guide Lantern, so I think it's fine. And here is a spot where I'm not going to attack. I'm just not going to let them damage my Planeswalkers. I'd rather just Mana Leak any play they make. I mean, I could have Mana Leaked any play they made, but if it's a creature, yeah. If it's a Swift Spear, I'm just going to block. And this is perfect. Absolutely perfect. Because now I get to just take it with the Archmage's Charm, and it just doesn't do anything. And I didn't have to use a Mana Leak. I can save a Mana Leak for burn that can go to my face. Just absolutely perfect. I also just like have Path and Winds of Abandon on top of my library too, so all that's just fine. I really appreciate opponent letting me play this, so this is nice. This is fun. They're let me keep going here. I'm gonna Path it now. I think I'm at a point now where I can start getting damage in. I think that's fine. I could have also Archmage Charmed it, and that would have been fine. I think that's fine. There's actually a pretty big argument that I was supposed to Archmage Charm, steal that Swift Spear, and then just have my clock going. But I just can't really see them beating what I'm doing here. Their only real out is to, like, save up enough burn spells that they can overload my counter magic, but that's going to take doing that through a bunch of turns of me having Jason play, and it's just not going to happen. If I was opponent, I would concede here. This game is actually just physically over. They don't know that, of course, but it is at this juncture. We're just going to keep brainstorming. Oh, hello, Teferi. I guess because I can actually cast Winds of Abandon at instant speed because I plus this to Fairy, so I think I'd rather draw it than many of the things. Oh boy. Welcome to the end of the game against blue-white. This is doom for the opponent, and they just don't know it yet. They seem salty about me drawing Planeswalkers. I play 8 of them, so I don't know why they're salty. And they're playing a deck that has absolutely no library manipulation at all, so just is kind of part and parcel of the cards we're playing, my friend. So do I want to draw a Path? I already have a Path, not super interested in it. I'm just going to keep plussing to Fairy and Brainstorming Jace. No reason not to do these things. Alright, I'm going to put this and this back. And I will cycle Frantic Inventory on my turn, just because I get the untap with Teferi anyway, so no reason not to. I still don't really want to redraw any of this stuff in play at the moment. My Mana Leak has essentially gone dead, but opponent still needs 2 spells to get out of this, so it's possible that I could... they're going to try and save up to double spell on a turn, and then at that point I can maybe use it, but it's really just not going to matter. This Teferi is going to ultimate before they get enough burn to overcome the counters I have. Yeah. Yep. And I think this is really just an example of Incinerator not being very good. And yeah, opponent did draw 4 straight lands, which is unfortunate, but if they saw my hand, they would know that it just doesn't matter. Like, even if they're drawing spells right now, I would still be winning. So yeah, it's not like I'm bragging here, like I'm gonna win scenario. It's more of like okay, they're done. I would be done here too. All right, ready for game 3 or game 4? Sorry. I am on the draw, but I've got lands. I've got a Mystic Sanctuary. I've got early interaction. I think this hand's a keep, even though it doesn't look like a great hand. But this is the kind of hands you like. In your lower percentage of hands, like your best hands are like 3 lands, a draw spell, like a Planeswalker. It's all this stuff, you know. These are the more marginal hands, but I do think that these are the marginal hands you want to keep. The ones that have early interaction and the lands to play the things. Now, obviously, this hand looks a lot worse when I get discard spelled, and that's kind of the reality. But I have Mystic Sanctuary, so if they take a card that really matters, I'll be able to get it back at some point in the future. Feel like I may be playing against Jund. Could also be Goblins. Could also be Shadow. I think we'll know more based on what they take here. But I would guess it's Jund. That would be my guess. They took Path. Okay, could be a bunch of things then. Interesting. Oh, and I drew a Thought Scour, which is pretty good. Still not super interested in shocking myself. But I do want to cast this Thought Scour, so I think I'm just going to play an island and cast it. And then I can still Mana Leak next turn with the second island if I want to. Could also just play the Hallowed Fountain next turn. I kind of want to just get more information before I decide anything. Okay, so this feels like another discard spell, and I'm thinking Jund now. No, Nile Spellbound. Interesting. So, still probably Jund, but I'm wondering, how do you keep 7 like that? I don't know. Interesting for sure. Maybe this is like a weird Urza build or something. I could also see like a 4-color Shadow. That makes some sense to me, but yeah, I don't know. Not a huge fan of opponent keeping the hand they kept here. So now we have white mana if we need it. I do think I want to just get Mana Leak in play. We have ended up flooding out a lot, and that's kind of the problem with Thought Scour, is that while it is doing a nice thing in filling your yard for Mystic Sanctuary, it's not great at finding spells in land-light hands, and you see me getting punished for playing it here. Although it did look absolutely excellent previously when I was, hitting frantic inventories and doing all like the crazy stuff I was doing. Okay, so I do think this is Jund. It does feel like Jund. And I am happy I get to use the Mana Leak here. Probably. If they're fetching main phase, I'm probably going to Mana Leak. And I'm definitely going to Mana Leak a discard spell, because if it's any discard spell, they're taking the Mana Leak anyway, and it denies them information. So it's definitely right to Mana Leak. But if they're just going to play and pass, then this actually works out great for me. Jun just giving me time is just exactly what I want anyway. Nope. Not going to do that one. It's really annoying on MTGO that it just like auto stops you with miracles in your draw step, so it's kind of a tell to the opponent. Which isn't great for MTGO. In paper, this would just be fine. Ooh, Dark Confidant is way too good. This might be setting them up to, you know, have a better play here, but I can't let them have a Dark Confidant. I think that's way too good. So this is going really awkward. I don't really want to draw Mana Leak either. What I think I'm going to do is just set up to cast an Entreat, which sounds really bad, but it's better than it sounds in the sense that I'm going to cast it once for 5, right? 5 mana, get a 4/4, which stinks. But then I get to Mystic Sanctuary it back and then draw it in my next turn and make 4 Angels, which is just insane. And they already went through their Nile Spellbomb, so I think it's pretty unlikely they'll be able to break that up. Maybe they have like an Assassin's Trophy or something along those lines. Maybe a Scavenging Ooze. I could see a Scavenging Ooze, but there's not that many things they could do this turn that really punish me for just playing a 4/4 next turn. I don't think. Maybe they certainly could have some stuff, but this is why, like, them keeping the hand that's Inquisition and Nile is just not good enough. Okay, Tarmogoyf. Tarmogoyf is good here. Tarmogoyf is pretty good here, but again, if they don't have Graveyard Hate, they're going to get just absolutely destroyed by this verdict, I believe. And I'm going to get Hallowed Fountain here. Obviously, Prairie Stream would come into play untapped, but it's better to just get the Hallowed Fountain into play tapped because the Prairie Stream is just a better dual land in my deck at this time. So, do I want to stick with the plan? Archmage's Charm's a really good draw. It could, like, let me start drawing some gas. I could also just play a land and pass, and then Archmage's Charm into Mana Leak if I need to, which is pretty enticing. My life total's not super low. I can definitely take a hit or two from this Tarmogoyf. Yeah, given all of that, I think I like the leave up Mana Leak play. Tarmogoyf is going to be a problem if I don't find an answer, but if I start Archmage's Charming and drawing cards and like using it to Mana Leak their plays, it's really not going to be an issue. It's going to be, and also the Entreat will actually beat it for the most part, so not super concerned about the Tarmogoyf yet. It could become a problem in the future, certainly. An opponent does have a lot of cards, so that's somewhat concerning. I'm sure their hand is pretty good right now. Ooh, don't like Thoughtseize. Do not like Thoughtseize. So, what do I want to do? I think it's a pretty easy Mana Leak this turn. I'm going to Mystic Sanctuary back the Mana Leak. Okay. Yes. And I'm definitely going to draw 2. It's just more important to get resources here. Definitely just want to get some resources here. Ooh, Frantic Inventory was a great one. So I do think I'm just going to let this resolve. If they take... I'm fine with them taking any of these spells, honestly. And then just casting whichever one of these they don't take. Yeah. I think that's fine. I think that's totally fine. I think Entreat would just be a huge... Like, they just definitely can't take Entreat. So, I mean, that's what I'm praying they take is the Entreat. Like, oh, it scares them. He might Entreat. Stop him from Jacing. But then I just get to sank it back, and it's just a disaster for them. And by waiting, this just gets better and better, too. So, not hugely concerning to wait. Alright, they took the Mana Leak. That seemed like the right one. Opponent's casting something here. Let's see what it is. Sorry, had a question from a friend of mine named Will Kruger. He was asking about a Pioneer brew. Or not brew. He was asking about Luca for a Pioneer prelim, so I figured I'd give him a quick answer on that. And they're playing Bob. Bob is good here. It's not bad, but it's not great either. Ooh, we drew the Prairie Stream. So kind of flooding now, which is not great. Cryptic is pretty good. I do like Cryptic. So, what do I want to do this turn? How much can they punish me? I don't think they can punish me that bad, especially if I put a 4-4 in play. It's really likely they'll answer the 4-4, but it's not that big a deal for me if they do, I don't think. Huh. Yeah, this is kind of a tough spot. I think what I want to do is just be mana efficient this turn. Yeah, ooh, so now I actually should ask, do I want to, like, draw a Mana Leak or a Frantic Inventory? I still don't. I think what I'm going to do is just return Bob to their hand, take another hit off Goyf, and just try to find spells that do stuff, and this is not that. That said, I do get to play Mystic Sanctuary here and redraw Cryptic, which I'm fine with. I might have waited too long. We have just, like, flooded like crazy here. I mean, we've drawn 10 lands and 4 spells, so I guess 5 spells, but not great. We're only a 24 land deck, too, so it's been pretty unfortunate, honestly. But opponent's at kind of a low life total. And we're going down to 8 here. And I imagine they're going to, like, replay a Bob. But Bob's kind of sketchy anyway. They're at, like, a really low life total for, you know, where they're at. And some Cryptic taps might be enough to get me out of this game, honestly. Okay, play the Bob. That makes sense to me. We're going to just, like, play a second Bob. Second Bob would be amazing. Oh, shit. Oh, this is Shadow. Interesting. Into Seal of Fire. Okay. You know what would be a good draw is Terminus. One time Terminus. Oh, I'm drawing Cryptic Command. Hello. Obviously, I'm drawing Cryptic Command. Thank you. Thank you, chat. Now the life total thing makes more sense. So it's like a Shadow deck not playing Seal of Fire. I get it. Do I want to do anything different here? I think what I need to do is prepare myself to maybe Mystic Sanctuary this Cryptic back. I'm going to need to be tapping here, which is pretty unfortunate, but I think it's just the place I need to go. I kind of hope that opponent doesn't have a ton of good draws here. Yeah, them not taking damage there is very fortunate. So beginning of combat, easy tap draw. And we're just looking to hit like a Terminus at any point. We have a bunch of them. They would just kind of always be good here. We're sitting at a virtual 6. We are going to go down to 5, but that's fine. And I do need to draw Cryptic just to make sure I don't die. But we now get to have a very good turn. I think this is a Jund deck, based on what I'm seeing. But now we get to have an awesome turn of, yeah, play the Prairie Stream, get Big Teferi into play, untap lands, and still Cryptic tap. So I think... Oh, and we even get to Path, which is just excellent. The question is, do I want to Path Bob or the other things? I think the answer is pathing Bob here makes more sense. Oh, I guess I didn't have a stop in my end step. Yikes. Well, now I'm not pathing Bob. Reveals Thoughtseize. That was not the one I wanted to see. Although, it might not be bad. It could be not bad here, actually. If I draw... I could, like... No, that's just, like, a little too cute. So opponent's going to go to combat. I am going to tap draw again. I think that's pretty easy. But if we do draw land... Okay. Now we're kind of in an insane spot where if they cast the Thoughtseize post-combat, I get to path one of the things, and then they have to take my entry, and then that sets me up for an awesome turn. Question is, what's the best one to path? I still feel like it's probably Bob, but I could get behind Shadow just so I don't die to like a TBR. Yeah, it's probably just Shadow just to not die to a TBR. The Bob is fine, but yeah, not the end of the world by any means. Okay. Okay, so they have another Shadow, sure. So now any way to draw a card is amazing. Any terminus at any point is always going to be amazing. 85th land, not amazing. Entreat goes away if... Entreat's going to go away if I get this Sanctuary, but I think I'm still supposed to do this because I just can't risk dying here, and I'm just going to win to 1 terminus. So I'm going to take my Cryptic, and we're going to stay on the tap draw until we finally draw something that's relevant. We've had a very hard time doing that. I'm going to draw this Cryptic. At some point, we're going to draw paths and terminuses. It's going to happen. I can feel it. I can feel it, chat. I can feel it in my bones. No, I don't want to tap anything. Thank you, though. Thank you, though. Opponent's going to die to this Bob. Grim Flayer. That ain't going to do it. I can feel opponent dying to Bob as we speak. Okay, so tap all creatures your opponents control, return target permanent to its owner. Tap all creatures your opponents control, return target permanent. I'm going to return Sank. So we do actually have them Cryptic locked here. This is the Cryptic lock. If they don't have a way to stop Sanctuary, they have to win through non-combat damage. And they have a Bob in play, which is really awkward. Okay, well, now they have the way to stop it. So this play actually really punished me. Well, yeah, don't love this. Do not love this. That said, they could still die to their own Bob here. It's not crazy that could happen. And we're like a path to exile away from being in a really good spot. Alright, can I draw anything? Terminus, thank you. Hello, Terminus. I was just waiting. Eventually it was going to happen, Chad. It was going to happen. I was going to draw the Terminus. And when I did, the game was going to end. And that's why we were just stalling with Cryptic for so many turns. That's exactly why we were doing that. I mean, the game's not actually over yet, but it's going to be really hard from opponent here, I would imagine. So, I do want to make them use their Spell Bomb, and they will, which is fine. No, you know what? It's not worth doing. It's really not worth doing. I think I just draw a card instead. I think I just draw the card instead. Okay. Yep, and so now actually I'm going to get value off the Sanctuary at some point. I'm not going to be able to win the game anymore through damage because my only damage spell is gone, but not super worried about it. Alright, the drawing 25 lands thing has been somewhat unideal, but it's okay. I'm going to hit their Blood Crypt. I would bet this deck only plays 2 basics, so I think this is just a straight Stone Rain, which is pretty nice. I guess I need more white. I just have infinite blue. Every land taps for blue, so it's... And I got 4 more lands to tap for blue. We got lands to tap for blue here, people. We got very many of those. Yeah, and despite me looking like I'm in a pretty good spot, I've really flooded here. I mean, we just have 9 lands in play and 4 more in hand. We do have an active Teferi, so I'm not complaining, but we're going to need to find something here because opponent did get to Bob for a bunch of turns, so they are very likely to be able to refill their board. I imagine their turn's going to be like Grim Flayer plus another threat. So I'm going to need to do something here that matters, certainly. Traverse. Okay, so maybe just get a Shadow. That makes sense. That does make sense to me. Oh, Luris. Oh, that's even worse for me. Although, wait, no, I Terminus other creatures, so the only thing they can get back is like a Spell Bomb, which just doesn't even really matter if we're being honest. I guess it's like okay, but it's not that good. And Luris, while it is good, it's not as good as me drawing 2 cards a turn with Teferi, presumably. I mean, at some point I'm going to draw spells, so that is a thing. That is a thing. And opponent can't even shock anymore, which is actually a really big deal. If they play Luris, I do think I'm supposed to tuck. Okay, so now I'm going to have to see what I draw. There's a world where I tuck this Grim Flayer with Teferi just based on the fact that 1 hit plus Seal of Fire does kill me. I think I have to play it safe here and tuck this. I hate it, but I think I need to make that play. I really hate it. But I do get to use my Mana Leak to kind of Stone Rain them this turn, So they won't get to get Luris value. I imagine they're going to play Luris plus a thing. So they won't get to get any Luris value. But, okay, Tarmogoyf, kind of a problem, but not the end of the world. If they play Luris after, I'll get to Mana Leak it at least, which is, okay. So they even let me Mana Leak Luris, which is just awesome. That is just very good for me. And now I actually even can tuck with Teferi again if I don't draw anything. But if I do ever draw a removal spell, I'll be in a really good spot. We'll be in a really good spot. Seal Fire Teferi. Okay, so they're not letting me tuck, which makes sense now because now the Tarmogoyf is lethal on its own. So now I actually am forced into drawing something here. But we've drawn every land, so we got to draw spells. Thought Scour. Okay, so I am supposed to start by Thought Scouring because I have this Sanctuary in my hand. If I hit something good here, I can Sanctuary it back. Okay. We didn't hit. We, in fact, milled more lands. But this is kind of a hit. So, I don't really want to redraw any of these cards. I think what I'm just going to end up doing here is playing a basic and playing this Teferi and tucking, which I'm not super hyped about, but I think is the play I need to make. And now I have Spell Snare for a bunch of their other plays they could make. And at some point, we're going to draw Path to Exiles or Terminuses. We've only seen 2 of our 8 in our top 36 cards, which is a little bit unfortunate. A little bit. But we're fighting. We're still out here battling. Still out here doing the battling. And we know opponent doesn't have a threat here because they didn't play it. And we also know that they're drawing Tarmogoyf next turn because of how the tuck worked. So I do think there's a real argument... I was going to say, I do think there's a real argument to putting Spell Snare back on top of my library. But given that... I am going to put the Spell Snare back on top, I think. And just draw it. Because now I know I get to counter this Tarmogoyf. In fact, they might not even cast it. And I am going to draw 2 here, because even if their hand is like some discard spells, they can't even cast... Oh, Jace was a fantastic... That was the one we wanted to draw, was Jace. Hello, Jace. Welcome, my friend. Welcome to the party. Alright. Ooh, now we can Terminus too, so now I don't even have to worry about the Tarmogoyf. No Tarmogoyf for you. Alright, I'm going to tap some islands and pass the turn. Alright, opponent doesn't know it yet, but this game is actually over. Although, I guess I could deck, but probably not going to deck. So I'm going to just immediately say no. I don't want to tell them there's a Terminus. We're waiting on it. We're waiting on it. Waiting. Alright, they conceded. It's actually generous of them, but we'll take it. So I do like Gust against this deck. I think it's good. I also like On Thin Ice and Celestial Purge and Winds of Abandon. In fact, all of the things are quite good. I think Entreat stinks. I don't want Mentors. I think I can just win with Planeswalkers. Yeah, we saw Seal of Fire 2 and Luris. Mentor seems quite bad. I'm just going to try to win with Planeswalkers. I don't like Force Negation very much against this deck. It's okay, but not spectacular. Teferi's kind of medium, and I actually don't really like Terminus against this deck either. In fact, I like it. I don't like it to the point where I think I'm going to board in 1 Mentor just to have a way to win. Just respect the game a little. We're going to respect the game a little. It's not a lot, but a little respecting the game by playing a win con. Alright, I don't really respect the game, but you know what I mean. You do know what I mean. Alright, come on, opponent. Let's battle. Let's battle. I guess I could buy an argument that, like, the second Mentor is actually good here. I think opponent's going to be cutting so much of their removal, and they'll be, like, on more graveyard hate, that maybe the Mentor is, like, pretty good. I don't know. It's actually interesting. It's actually pretty interesting. Yeah, this hand's good. It doesn't look great, and it's not great, don't get me wrong, but I've got early removal, 2 unconditional early removal spells, in fact. I've got a way to start getting my game plan going. Yeah, I like this hand. It's not ideal by any means, but it is good. I imagine they're going to take my Thought Scour here. That would be my guess. Although I could definitely see them taking on Thin Ice. I think that's a reasonable take as well. I think that's totally a reasonable take. On Thin Ice is particularly good because I can't sink it back from the opponent's perspective, and it fuels their goifs. So it would make a lot of sense to take on Thin Ice if I were them. But we'll see. If they have something like Trophy, yeah, okay. I was gonna say if they have something like Trophy or Abrupt Decay, then maybe they would leave it. But this makes sense to me. So how do I want to play this? I think there's a chance this actually just becomes a Plains. So I'm just gonna play the island so I can Thought Scour and just kind of start cycling through my deck and finding stuff. I definitely don't want to scour them. That sounds bad. It is annoying that they play Spellbomb, so my scours get significantly worse, but it's not the type of thing where it's a big enough annoyance that I'm going to not be doing my game plan, if that makes sense. And we drew a Gust. Oh, Gust is a great draw. I'll take a Gust. I will take a Gust. Okay, so now the question is, do I want to get the Plains in play or possibly save it for like a Hallowed Fountain? This also could be a Prairie Stream next turn, which actually sounds pretty good to me. And given that my plan is to cast Gust here because I'm not super interested in ramping them, I think it actually makes a lot more sense to just get the Prairie Stream here, honestly. I could also just draw a white source, and if that happened, then this would be a Sanctuary. So it is better to wait on the fetches if you can. Generally a lot better to do that. Alright. I am not taking this damage. That can get gusted. Thank you. Are they topping or bottoming? Veil of Summer. Wow, that is just brutal. I guess I should have thought about that and done that differently. That stinks. I guess it at least used their turn, but wow, they got to counter and draw. Forgot this was a card. That is brutal. If I'm being quite honest, that is very brutal. Okay, well, I am going to Gust now. I'm not letting this nonsense happen to me again. That stunk. That was real bad. And given that they missed their land, I think they have to bottom. I do think they have to bottom. But Prairie Stream's looking good here. I can fetch untapped blue-white like island duel and then use this to Sanctuary if I need to. I probably won't be doing that. Yeah, they bottomed the Tarmogoyf. That makes sense to me. That makes a lot of sense to me. But yeah, the Prairie Stream looking good here. Certainly. I guess I was definitely supposed to play Polluted Delta because this could fetch Plains, so it's always strictly better to play Delta ahead of Strand. So that wasn't a great play, but I also think it's the type of thing where it's small enough that it just really won't matter. And yeah, given everything I just said, I am going to just get a Hallowed Fountain, put it into play tapped, because again, I could get the Prairie Stream if I wanted to. Ooh, Frantic Inventory is not bad. I am just going to leave Cryptic up. There's no reason not to have Cryptic up here. It seems to me like opponent has a Shadow Hand and is like desperately looking for any sort of fetch. That's what it feels like to me. I could also see them trying to... they just put Lurrus in their hand. Interesting. Well, I'm not going to use Cryptic here then. I am just going to cycle this inventory. Alright, Snare's a good draw. It's not a bad draw. Winds is also a pretty good draw. Now I just have access to my Wrath when I need it. It's the only Wrath I have in my deck, but it's a good one. It is a good one. And I don't think opponent's going to play Lurrus. I feel like this might be a lot like a turn where there's a lot of shadows happening. I could see that. I also think it's pretty likely that if they do play shadows here, I will be getting Veil of Summer again. Inquisition. It doesn't do anything. That's fine. That's fine by me. Cryptic's still going to be online. Whatever they take, I can sink back if I need to. Yep. No issues there. And Cryptic is... It's not great if an opponent Veil of Summers your Cryptic command. It's certainly not great. Don't get me wrong. I never want to see that happen. But Cryptic's better than at least a decent number of things based on the fact that I can... Like, I still draw my cards, so it doesn't get as blown out as other counter spells, but yeah, it's not great. Not great at all. And opponent 100% has Veil of Summer here. I don't think there's a world where they don't. And given that, I do think I'm supposed to path and save Veil of Summer for like one of my next plays. Or save my Cryptic to hit the Veil of Summer. I am just going to path a Shadow here. And then I think I'm supposed to just get back, like, Sanctuary back my path, and then just, they're dismembering their own Shadow. Okay. That's fine by me. It doesn't save it, so they're not going to get to cast it with Luris. Okay. Yeah, that's all fine. That's fine. Now the question is, do I want to just get the Cryptic out of my hand so I can't be Veil of Summer? And I think the answer to that one is yes. My deck is good at playing around Veil of Summer, so I should try to do that. Now let's get the path back. That one's going to be good. Okay. Yes. I think this is a good spot to just bounce Death Shadow, draw a card. You don't get full value on the Cryptic, but given that I'm like just scared of Veil of Summer anyway and playing around it, I think this is all fine. If I find a Planeswalker, I'm just going to run away with the game right now. So that's what I'm hoping for. Okay, that's not a Planeswalker. It's kind of the opposite, but I do have the Shadow answered already, which is good. I can also answer a 2-drop. Luris could be a problem, but they don't have anything to get back with Luris at the moment. So Luris isn't even great necessarily here. And I do think there's a world where I get back Cryptic Command. I could see it. I could see it. I might just end up getting the path back. Like if they have a double Shadow turn here, I could definitely see that. Interesting to me that they even left in Dismember to begin with. Okay, they're just running out Luris. I mean, given that they don't get to replay anything, I think that's fine. I'm not super concerned about it. Yep. It's a real shame that I can't get back Winds of Abandon here and just wins them into the ground, but that's the cost of not ever getting a second white source, which I could have done a few times, but not the biggest deal. I think I'm just going to draw the path. I'm not going to mess around with Luris. Path is just a good draw at this point, so just going to put Path in my library. It doesn't feel like opponent has that many things going on, if we're being honest. So I'm just going to Path Luris now, make sure they don't get any value off of it. And now I'm out of resources. They have 3 cards, but their big grindy element is Luris, and that's gone. And I have much better top decks than them. I could draw any Planeswalker. Their next 2-drop is off. Question mark if they have Veil of Summer. It's not off, obviously. But their next 2-drop they draw isn't great. And it does feel like they kind of don't have anything because they ran out Luris there. So, good draw step here. Good draw step. Field of Ruin. That's not horrible. It's a Plains. I'll take it. Probably hit this one, I guess. I'm not really cutting off colors, so sure, I'll hit a green source. Why not? And now I actually could Sanctuary back Winds of Abandon if I needed to. I think it's pretty unlikely that I do that, but I could do it. Certainly could do it. But also the nice thing about getting a, like, they just get another green source. I was going to say, the nice thing about cutting off a green source there is if they want to leave up Winds of Abandon, they have to tell, or, Veil of Summer, they're going to have to telegraph it by leaving up the forest. That said, now they're starting to flood to the point where it's just like, if they have it, it's just going to be up and I just have to play through it. Kind of hoping I draw something before then to get out of this. Starting to flood a little bit now, which I don't love, but we drew a Sanctuary, which is good. I at least get to draw a Cryptic here, so that is good. That is good. I'm not super worried about the spot we're in. Okay, Shadow's annoying, but definitely not the end of the world. I think what I end up doing here is just getting back Path Exile, honestly, and just pathing it again. And now they're going to be at a spot where they just have 1 Shadow left in their entire deck, and that's fine by me. It is annoying that I don't get to draw... I don't get a draw step at something that really matters here, but I think it's just totally fine. Let's just get this out of here now so we don't get blown out by anything. Abrupt Decay their own shadow. So that sounds like a Colligan's command to me. Sounds like they might have a Colligan's command to me. Which would be kind of annoying. But, oh, I think if they had it there, they would have played it too. So I don't think they have it yet necessarily. They could draw it, certainly. But, I mean, we have all the Planeswalkers. We could draw Teferi, Jace, or Teferi, or either of the Teferis or a Jace at any point, which is what we're looking to do. Okay, they drew the K command. That's really annoying. And this Shadow's pretty big. Shadow's pretty big, and it looks like they left up Veil of Summer. I mean, they're playing this whole game under the guise of Veil of Summer, which is what it is. Alright, can I draw anything? Cryptic. Well, that's not ideal, but it can at least play around Veil of Summer. So I can tap draw here to just get 2 draw steps for a fresh card next turn. I'm not taking the damage, and I don't get blown out by Veil of Summer because I'm not targeting any of their stuff if I tap draw. So I think that's one of the better draws I could have there. Tap all creatures your opponent's control, draw a card. What? Okay. I think they think Veil of Summer works there, and it just doesn't, but that's fine. Alright, well, their Bobble can't be countered. And that, I mean, we played around it perfect. We said the whole time we were playing around Veil of Summer, and we made a bunch of plays to play around it, and they just had it. And they didn't know how it worked, and that's fine by us. We'll take it. And again, I'm just looking to draw... Okay, Path to Exile, or Mystic Sanctuary for Path to Exile is the perfect draw step here. It's basically exactly what I wanted. I'm going to put Path on top and then tap draw again. That's my plan. Although, I could leave the Cryptic now. Nah, I think it's safer to just do this. I think it's safer to do this. I do get another fresh draw step afterwards. Man, even like a Frantic Inventory would be a great draw here. I have a lot of good draws and not very many lands left in my deck. Kind of flooding again. Okay. I would like to use Mystic Sanctuary's ability. I would like to tap all creatures my opponent's control, and I would like to draw a card. That sounds very good to me. Okay. I think maybe they've learned that Veil doesn't work the way they thought it did. At this point. Is this the 4th Shadow? Have we gotten to 4th Shadow territory? Nope. That feels like a discard spell to me. That feels like opponent has a discard spell in their hand, and they're just like, sure. If I cast a discard spell, he's going to Path anyway. And yeah, I'm going to Path. That's going to happen. Alright, they decay their thing again, so maybe they have another K command. I'm fine with all this. Not the end of the world. Alright, can we get a fresh draw here? Good one, please. Frantic Inventory, that's a great one. We will take that all day. Oh, into Teferi. Hello, Teferi. So we've seen multiple Abrupt Decays, which makes me pretty sure that I should be... I guess I could fetch Hallowed Fountain. I have so much mana that would do anything I want anyway, but it's not like that's costful to draw Prairie Stream either, so sure. I'm going to put Teferi in play, and I would like to just hit a card. I guess I've already used 2 Abrupt Decays, like how many can they have? But it's still better to just make sure I get my card, I think. Okay, we drew one of the 2 lands left in our deck that taps for mana, which is great. I think we had 3 lands left in our 28 card deck there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I had, and both Field of Ruins are gone? No, 1 Field of Ruin. I had 5 lands left in my 28 card deck, so kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. We have at least turned off Veil of Summer though, so that's nice. That is nice, and we should draw good cards at some point. It's got to happen. Oh my gosh! Opponent drew multiple K commands. Okay, so still in a spot where we could draw good cards. We could do that at any time. Archmage's Charm. That's interesting. What do I do with that? Am I stealing the shadow? Which I actually kind of like. Or am I drawing 2 cards and trying to hit more of my good cards? Both seem reasonable to me. The opponent's at 4. I really don't hate it to just steal the shadow. Yeah, whatever. Let's YOLO this. Let's YOLO this, chat. Gain control of target Death's Shadow. Hello. That's a 3-3. That's my 3-3 now. I'll take that. Thank you very much. Ooh. They got DC over there. Oh my gosh. And the 4th shadow. How many shadows? What is this? So kind of wish I'd drawn 2 now. Oh, Frantic Inventory. Just a fantastic draw step. Get to draw 3 cards here. Yes, please. Oh, and it's Big Teferi. Hello. Hello. Do I want to mill them or me? I want to mill them or me? Well, I think the play here is just play Big Teferi and plus. I could also tuck their shadow. That's not crazy. They don't even really have attacks. I think I am going to tuck their shadow. I don't think that's crazy. I think that's actually just like a very reasonable play to make here. I actually have decent blocks. Wait, if I attack, they kind of have to block, right? I think they probably have to block. Yeah, I'm in. We're getting offensive here. We're going to get offensive. They just have to block. They're in Chump City. Let's go. Hello. Welcome to Chump City, friend. So now they get to draw, and then I can actually mill their shadow with Thought Scour. So now the Thought Scour is pretty good. This is kind of sweet. I'll take this. I can get behind this. Let's go. Let's go. So I was going to get to draw a fountain. No, I was going to fetch first, so the fountain would have been in play. A path, into a leak, into a scour, into a purge. Yeah, that game was probably done. That game was probably... Alright, we're here with round 4. We've lost the die roll to a person named Control Freak. So I would imagine they are playing a control deck. That would be my guess. I don't want to roll... I don't want to, like, assume too much, so I'm not going to just assume control. But this is a pretty good hand against them. I have a Force Negation for interaction. I've got some Thought Scours to start fueling my graveyard and, you know, getting Mystic Sanctuaries turned on, kind of churning through my deck. So I think this is a keep. If they come out just playing like mono red, I could get really punished. All right, Bauble. So could be red black prowess, probably a Lurrus deck. Usually the only decks playing Bauble nowadays are Lurrus. Fair enough. Feels like maybe red black prowess, which. Yeah, this might be a bad hand against them, but if they take my Force Negation here, I don't really care. This actually feels probably more like Jund to me. Or like maybe controlling Grixis deck with Lurrus. I could see that. But I think this hand's pretty good. We've got access to white mana on the turn we need it. We'll be able to Thought Scour a decent amount. I'm still going to guess it's like a Jund or a Shadow deck. It could be like a 4-color Shadow deck for sure. They actually took a Thought Scour. Interesting. So maybe there's just this they don't think this Force Negation is going to be very good against them, which I could buy. I could buy that. Oh, Imperial Stream looking really good here, honestly. So now I get to Thought Scour to set up this Sanctuary so that I can set up a Terminus if I do hit it in either of any of my 4 mills. If also I hit a Path, it's still going to be pretty good to just put the Path back on top against a deck that's likely to be playing creatures. Alright, so definitely a Shadow deck. Looks like it's definitely a Shadow deck. And that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, I'm still just going to let them take Thought Scour if they want to. I'm fine with everything happening here. I will happily just Thought Scour myself and just get lands and play against the Shadow deck missing land drops. That's fine by me. No. That is not really the order you want to draw those up, but it's fine. It's fine. Alright, Mana Leak was a pretty good draw. So now I can counter their play this turn. I have Force Negation for, you know, a play the next turn. Like where we're at. It seems like they kept a hand with Bauble and Street Wraith as redraws and then just haven't hit, which is fine by me. I am obviously okay with that. The question here is, do I want to actually get the basic for Prairie Stream or the tapped Hallowed Fountain? I think it's going to be better to get the basic or the tapped Hallowed Fountain ever so slightly, because I've already got my play lined up next turn to use Mana Leak. And putting the Prairie Stream into play is not the end of the world here, but it also sets me up to be able to hardcast this Terminus if I need to, which might come up, certainly. So, not ideal, but totally fine. Totally fine. And yeah, opponent is just, like, really, they just kept a non-functional hand, so not great for them. So I could get something back, but I'm choosing between 3 Thought Scours and a Frantic Inventory at this point, and none of them are super enticing, so I think I'm just going to keep waiting. I actually wouldn't mind getting Mana Leak back at this point. Mana Leak strikes me as a pretty good thing to get back when your opponent's stuck on 1 land. So probably going to go that route. But yeah, and they're just not going to play into my Force or my Mana Leak at this point, which makes sense, but it's just going to be bad for them if they just keep waiting. Like, letting me get lands in play and sculpt my hand while they just don't apply pressure is just not where you want to be. And that is pretty much why. I mean, that is textbook why. So I'm going to play Jace here and not leave up white mana, and I think that's fine. They might have a Bolt, but yeah, okay, they've conceded. That makes sense. If they had Bolt for that turn, sure, they would get the Jace, but I have Force Negation on their turn for anything too crazy, and then I have Terminus set up to beat them after that. So yeah, I think that's just totally fine. We're going to do the same boarding plan. We didn't see anything green. We didn't see all that much. Okay. It looks like opponent's just conceding the match. Would be my guess. Maybe they just don't want to play this matchup? Nope. Just a lag. Just a lag moment. Okay. Makes sense. So again, I don't think Entreat's necessary against this kind of deck. I don't love Force Negation. It's fine. It's certainly fine, but it's not something you need. I do like this package. Teferi's fine. Just lets me cycle through the deck. I could be convinced to board out like a Jace or a Cryptic. Maybe I still just cut Teferi and just use Jace as the Terminus Enabler. That seems fine to me. Teferi's good, but I'm down on some of the Miracle package. I get to board in more spot removal against a creature deck. 4 more spot removal spells. I still have Terminus to deal with all those things, and 8 walkers here to just kind of plow through stuff. I could be convinced that Teferi's better than a Spell Snare against a deck pretty likely to bring in. They're pretty likely to be bringing in Veil of Summer against me, and Teferi's actually pretty good against Veil of Summer. It's also like decent against Shadow. It's not amazing, but it is decent. I think it's the worst Planeswalker though, and I think I'd rather have the Snare, especially on the draw. It's a nice thing to tag their turn 2 play. All that said, this is going to like help me filter through lands. You know what? Maybe I do. I think I've talked myself out of the Snare. I'm a little less counterspell oriented, but that's honestly, that's fine against a deck that could bring in Veil of Summer, certainly. I mean, we saw that last round. And I have just so much white removal that Veil, if I go with a more play to the board plan, is going to be a lot better. And I'm kind of free to play to the board against the deck where they don't have hasty stuff. They don't have a lot of ways to burn me out. They might have 2 bolts, something like that. I mean, mostly they're on Team or Battle Rage, and if they're trying to Team or Battle Rage me, just being able to play to the board in an effective manner, I think is the best way to go about that. Okay, what do we got here? Opponent deciding if they want to be on the play for this game. Honestly, if they put me on the play, I could buy that as being not a bad strategy because it's very easy for me to outgrind them. Man, if this hand had 1 more land in it, it would be a snap keep. It's actually close on the draw because I have the path, but I think it's too weak to just a discard spell, so I think I'm going to mulligan. And this hand's a lot better. This is a hand I'm going to happily keep. The question is, what am I bottoming here? I do think it's Cryptic, although I do like Cryptic in this spot. Maybe I'm supposed to bottom Archmage's Charm. I could get behind bottoming Archmage's Charm because it's the thing I can't cast, and by the time I could cast it, I'll be casting Cryptic. Yeah, alright. I'll bottom Archmage's Charm. We're going to shuffle it back into the fray pretty quickly anyways, so not the end of the world to bottom it there. And I like getting the first Frantic Inventory in my graveyard because then all my subsequent ones will be much better. And I like Cryptic Command as the thing I'm playing towards, like just playing towards a turn 4 Cryptic. Okay, so this is Grixis Shadow, which makes me happy I cut the Spell Snare, because Spell Snare is terrible against Grixis. But also, I do think I boarded wrong against Grixis, because I would have much rather have had things that aren't so bad against Stubborn Denial. All that said, I'm not super concerned. Opponent, I mean, that's a good start from the opponent, especially with me on a mulligan. Took my removal spell. But, yeah. We drew our land. We're going to get to cycle this Frantic. We're going to get to be able to get back this Celestial Purge at some point. Opponent could apply a lot of pressure, and that would be bad, but they're not all that close to playing the things that terrify me. Okay, this could lead to a Gurmag, which would be kind of bad for me. Especially if they hit their land here. If they miss their land, I think the game's over. Well, not over, but we're in a really good spot. Okay, so they hit their land, but they can't play Gurmag. So that's pretty good for us. That's pretty good for us. So I would imagine... Yeah, okay, that is good for us. They can't play Shadow or Gurmag, and they're choked on black mana. So that is actually pretty nice. Gonna get the Hallowed Fountain here again. I think that's pretty easy. Alright, we are going heavy on Mystic Sanctuaries. So, we've drawn a lot of Mystics, so I definitely want to prioritize getting islands in play. I've already got double white. I'm never going to need triple white. Well, I might need triple white, but it's very, very unlikely I need triple white. So, I'm pretty free to just cast my Frantic this turn. Just be happy about it. I don't love the way my hand has shaken out, though, unfortunately. It's really clunky. I don't have a cheap removal spell. My Cryptic's gone now, which is even worse. And there's a chance they stub my Frantic and just put me in a world of hurt here. But, oh, they took the Frantic inventory. That is interesting. That leads me to believe they have threat plus stub. That would be my guess here. Because I'm going to have a really hard time beating that now. Yeah, I mean, Teferi would be great, but I don't necessarily have that. I mean, I guess I'm getting another tapped Hallowed Fountain. I can't really cast anything, so I may as well. Alright, that's not a great draw. Not at all a great draw. And, yeah, this is scary now. This is the spot you don't want to be in, is letting them untap with a Shadow, have access to all their mana, so they can definitely stub. They could TBR me here if they wanted to. They know my full hand because I played the island. I still think it's right because it lets my Mystic Sanctuaries get value, but I have a hard time believing I'm going to be able to win this game now. I'm just so soft to a stub. And they could easily have Mystical Dispute, too. There's just so many things they could have here that are just really bad for me. I could draw Terminus. That would be good. Okay, Spellbomb is okay from them. It does turn off my Mystic Sanctuaries, but honestly, my graveyard's not very good anyway. So, it's not like the end of the world if they like Spellbomb away my Purge. It's just whatever. I do think I'm getting stubbed. That feels pretty accurate to me. Okay, a Gurmag. And yeah, they're just telegraphing that they have stub. So, I'm at least not dying this turn. Okay. Archmage's Charm is not bad. It's not bad. And they're going to let this Celestial Purge resolve. Or they're going to let this resolve, because I don't think they want to pop Spellbomb. I really don't think they want to pop Spellbomb. Maybe they're just like so far ahead that they can actually pop Spellbomb and just not draw the card. I don't think they're going to tap this Watery Grave. I think Stubborn Now is going to be up for the rest of the game, and I'm just going to have to live with that realization and play through it. And it's going to be tough. And I do think they're thinking about this. I think it makes sense to think about it. Like how to best play around stub, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I'm in not a good spot, for sure. I will use Mystic Sanctuary. I think that's my best shot here of winning this game. I still think I'm like sub 5% to win. I'm going to 1 and getting my Cryptic stubbed. I need them to just have no way to hurt themselves, and I need them to have not a second stub. But if all of those things are true, I will get a 12/12 Death Shadow next turn. So, again, I think my chances of winning are super low, but I'm playing towards the outcome where I do win, which is get my Cryptic stubbed. Okay, Cling is fine. They have a lot of graveyard hate. Maybe I should just consider boarding out Frantic Inventory. Yeah, so the way that I can win is get my Cryptic stubbed, go to exactly 1 here. And hope they don't have a second counterspell. I mean, that's really all I got. And I am going to try and bait the stub here. I think it's so likely that they have 2 that it's just not going to work. But I'm going to return this Gurmag Angler to their hand. I'm going to do that. Okay, they have the stub. They do have the stub. So what are the odds they have 2 stubs? Pretty high, realistically. Okay, so I'm going to start by purging the Gurmagio. And if they stub here, I still can kind of live by stealing Shadow. So maybe they don't. I'm going to try and put the Purge back on top. I think here they might pop the Spell Bomb. And if they do that, I have a chance. It's not a good chance, but it is a chance. Okay, and they're paying. Okay. Okay. I like this. I would like to gain control of target permanent with CMC 1 or less. So I am dead to like any bolt, any K command. All of that's going to kill me. But opponent's now in the Abyss and we have a 12-12. So that's not bad. We've put ourselves in a spot where we can maybe win. I still don't love our odds, but we've put ourselves in a spot where we have a shot. And opponent's in the Abyss now. Every creature they play has to chump block. They don't have haste. Yeah, K-Command kills us, and that's fine. They had the card that beat us, but we made the plays we had, and I actually think that was a pretty well-played game on our part. So I'm happy with it, even though it didn't go our way. And that's fine. It's part and parcel of how these things work. I do actually like Mystical Dispute against them. I'm a fan of that because of just how brutal Stub is. And I think you could convince me that I definitely don't want Spell Snare. I think you could convince me that Mentor's good against them because it's pretty unlikely they have a lot of kill spells. I could be convinced I'm supposed to board out Frantic Inventory. I would buy that. They showed me so many graveyard things. I saw Nile Spellbomb. I saw Cling to Dust. They showed me a lot. I also think I want Force Negation. Alright, I'm going to board out the Frantics. It does make me less grindy, but we're already way grindier than them just based on how many Planeswalkers we have. And I think this is fine. We've got some additional cheap plays in Mystical Dispute, and we're actually really good at answering their threats. That game was a bit of an anomaly, in my opinion. Oh, this hand is terrible. Ugh. I think this is a keep, but this hand is bad. This hand is just very bad, honestly. I do think it's a keep still, but yeah, it's not good. This ain't it. But I don't like mulliganing against Thoughtseize decks. I do have good plays, and I'm on the play. If I get like a bunch of discard spells, I'm probably going to die. But I don't think I can mulligan a hand that has some of our better cards in it and both colors of mana. The Mystic Sanctuaries in your opening hand stink. 1 in your opening hand is fine. 2 is just like, come on, you know, but it's fine. It's fine. If someone wanted to argue that this hand should have been a mulligan, I would buy that. I could buy that this hand should be a mulligan against Shadow. It is a little slow. I don't really have good interaction. It's pretty soft to discard because I just don't make good plays. But I do have I do have powerful cards, and I can draw good cards. That can happen. Alright, so where are we at? Draw a spell, please. Alright, land was not what I was looking for. I am going to put snow-covered plains into play because I have Terminus in my deck. It might not look like it's super important to get the plains into play there, and actually kind of awkward with Mystic Sanctuary, but I do think it is important. I do think I definitely want to just be able to draw and cast Terminus if I do draw it. So, I want to do that. They can't deploy a Shadow yet. They also can't really Gurmag. They need something else, like another Bobble would get them to Gurmag, or a Street Wraith would get them to Gurmag, but just Fetch Land alone doesn't do it. Fetch Land alone also doesn't get them to Shadow, so it's not super likely they can play a threat this turn. I mean, they could, but it's not super likely, I guess I'd say. Yeah, and they're just going to have to pass, which is actually good for us. We'll take that. We will take that. And yeah, given we don't have a play we can make here, I'm definitely going to Field of Ruin. And I would like to hit their Blood Crypt in their upkeep, I think. That gets them closer to Gurmag. Maybe I'm supposed to wait. It's just too bad to Field of Ruin them after that. I am going to upkeep it, I think. Maybe I draw step it. Yeah, draw stepping is better. I'm going to draw step it because it is the best against like them getting to leave up stub, and it also cuts them off red. They could easily get another red source, but it does cut them off of it. Lazotep plating. Holy cow, that is a huge beating. What the heck? Well, wasn't expecting that. I'll tell you what. That was not on my list of things that could happen that turn. That really punishes me too. Holy cow, that's bad for me. I guess I was supposed to do it on my turn. They just passed with 2 mana up those, so... Wow. That is a blowout into half. And now they get to, like, play... Oh, my gosh. That was about as bad as it could have possibly gone. I didn't even think that was a card. Alright, well... There you have it. Play around Lazotep Plating with Field of Ruin. Quite the blowout. An opponent shocked and passed. So, either Cling to Dust or a stub here, probably. Definitely one of those things. And we have drawn like garbage. We got the 5-land hand. Immediately drew more lands. I do still think I want to hit this Blood Crypt. I'm not going to let him untap. But I would like to cut him off red mana so that K-Command's not an option. I don't have a stop on my end step. Well, if they have a second plating, they're going to get me. I wanted to do it end step, but if they have a second one, I'm getting got. That's what's happening, and it's going to be really awful. I'll probably lose the game. But I'm going to do it. Hopefully cut them off red. I'm going to get an island here so that I'm closer to the Sanctuary. They've been cut off red at least. That's good for me. And they don't get to use the mana, so that went better than the last one, that's for sure. Inquisition. Yeah, now they get to waste their discard spell on my hand that doesn't do anything, so that's good. That's good. I mean, we kept a 5-land hand and drew 3 straight lands, which is pretty bad. Although, opponent hasn't really done anything super powerful yet, so maybe we're in an okay spot. It feels like they maybe don't have a threat. They're just flooding a little bit. No, okay, they definitely have a threat, and they just are waiting until post-combat. So that does make sense. Alright, not cut off red anymore, and they probably get to play like a shadow here. Hopefully not 2. Hopefully not 2. And, okay, so now, the fact that they waited until it was a 5/5, because I think it's very likely they had it last turn, just signifies to me beyond belief that they have stub here. They just definitely have stub. Okay, so they definitely have stub here, and we're going to die. I mean, that's what's happening. Yeah. That is definitely what's happening. Okay. So, how do I win this game? How can I win this game? That Lazotep plating is a beating. I just tricked myself with that Field of Ruin so bad. So bouncing Gurmag Angler with Jace would be excellent. It would be excellent. I don't think there's any disagreement about that. All of that said, I don't think Jace is going to live. I think what's going to happen here is I need to play this Jace to bait the stub. It's the spell they know I have. They're going to stub this 100% of the time. And then I have to hope I draw a spell that gets me out of it and I can live through the turn. I'm not dead on board, which is nice. And they only have 2 cards after draw step. So there's not that many things that kill me. TBR doesn't kill me without the other card also hurting them ahead of time. So I have a chance. I am going down to 8 here, but if my path resolves, I could then maybe get out of this. I think I have a shot. It's not good. I don't like where I'm at, but I have a shot. Ashiok? Okay. That's not good for me at all, but I can beat it? It's better than a threat, that's for sure. I'm definitely dead to them having second stub, and it just is them having a very good shadow hand versus me not really having a hand at all. This opponent brought in so much graveyard hate against me, which is wild. I'm really happy I boarded out. Okay. I'm really happy I boarded out some of the stuff I did. Okay, so what are we hitting here? Hopefully like a cryptic command. A cryptic command would be excellent. Can we draw a cryptic? Dispute. Dispute keeps me in the game. It does keep me in the game. So definitely going to path the shadow. I think I'm getting stubbed. Okay, I didn't get stubbed. That's better than not getting stubbed, I guess. I am going to put the Mystic Sanctuary. I'm going to do this because it's not going to get better. And path would actually be a really good draw. What's going to happen is they're going to mill me with Ashiok, but that's fine. I mean, it's not great for me, but it's fine. Like, I can accept it. Yeah. And now I have draws that can get me out of this now. Like, Jace would be an excellent draw. Royal Scions. I will Mystical Dispute that. Thank you very much. Now if they have the stub, I just die. But they didn't. It doesn't seem like they had it last turn, so maybe they didn't draw it. Okay. So now I have draws that can get me out of this game. A Jace would be an excellent draw. 3-mana Teferi would be an excellent draw. Terminus would be an excellent draw. I have a lot of draws that are really good here. Come on, one of the draws that's really good here. What did they mill? Path, Terminus, Terminus, Path. Okay, so their mill was insane, and we were going to draw a bunch of good cards, so that's really unfortunate. Something that does something. Teferi Time Raveler. That plays. That's not a bad one. It does play. Keeps me alive. And Cryptic. Cryptic also plays. It's not great, but it plays. They can replay Gurmag, but they're going to not be able to play... I guess they can just always Ashiok themselves to replay Gurmag. And Teferi's probably going to die here, I would assume. They milled Mana Leak, Mystic Sanctuary, Path, and Cryptic. So I have one Path left in my deck, which is pretty unfortunate. This Ashiok is just high roll... Oh, no, I have no paths left. I've hit all 4 of my paths, which is very unfortunate. This Ashiok has just really high rolled me here, which is not great for me. But they are kind of flooding. They are flooding a little bit. So I have a shot, certainly. They're just getting to the point now where they're just going to be able to repeatedly cast Gurmag, which is pretty annoying. It is pretty annoying. Okay. Draw something that does something, please. Hallowed Fountain was not the thing I was looking to draw there. That's okay, though. So now I need to ask myself, do I want to main phase bounce Gurmag? I think I do. You know, I'm going to upkeep it on them because I could draw Terminus, which is not crazy. I mean, it's not super likely, but I could draw Terminus. So I'm going to return target permanent Disorders hand, draw a card. And I'm dead to a lot of stuff here. K-Command, any counterspell. Yeah, definitely stub. Alright, well, they got me. It's unfortunate. That is unfortunate. This Ashiok ended up being really good. I think it's really, like... I mean, it's probably the Lazotep plating that beat me, but I don't know. It was just an unfortunate sequencing of my deck, and I don't think it's necessarily a winning strategy from the opponent's part, but it ended up being really good there. But Ashiok just trying to high roll like the couple removal spells in blue-white's not generally great, because if I just draw them and you mill the bad cards, then the card looks horrible against me. It is a way to turn off Mystic Sanctuary, but the opponent had a lot of graveyard hate. I think maybe I misboarded in game 2 and that cost me. But that's fine. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate it. Remember, if you like this video, or if you appreciate the content here, liking the video helps us a lot. Subscribing helps us a lot. And if you want to do this, if you want to ship me a list and say, hey, I'm working on this budget, I'm trying to figure out if this is good or if this is not, then let me know, and I will be happy to do that. You can just leave a comment, and I'll find it and do that. In terms of this deck, I liked a lot of what was going on here. I did miss the Force, but I think we can maybe remedy that. I'm going to try working on basically the same budget tomorrow and see if I can make some changes and maybe make the deck better. We'll see what I can do. I'm not positive on anything, but we're going to try some stuff. We're going to try a slightly different build tomorrow and see how good it is. And yeah, if you want to see where I go on this budget, be sure to check the video out tomorrow. And with that, I'll talk to you guys later.